left, he has 7, 6 left. Freiburg goes for the kill, he's going to pick it up. If just exists survives, he's going to win the round, there's no time. Oh my God, Freiburg, are you kidding me? Because of it, Freiburg is going to be way.
Hello everyone and welcome to the CSGO edition of By The Numbers. I'm your host Richard Lewis, and with me as always is the world's leading CSGO analyst Duncan Thorin Shields. But this time, just before we get into talking to him and asking how he is, we've actually got a special guest. Yes, he does look like an upside down Mr. Potato Head. It's everyone's favourite American analyst. The best thing to come out of CSGO since, well, I don't even know where I'm going with that, so I'm just going to end it. It is Moses. So we did say we were going to do a guest. I mean, we do this under duress. I don't want Moses here, but I'm going to try and just get through it and pretend I like him. So Moses, I'll start with you. How are you doing? That doesn't look like your house.
No, it does not look like my house. It's a very cheerful, Christmassy house. I'm over in with K-Sharp, staying with K-Sharp for the week.
You don't celebrate Christmas in your house, Moses?
No, we do, but no, we celebrate Christmas. You know, he's actually got a star. The star on his Christmas tree at the very top is actually Yoda with a lightsaber.
Right, yeah, and that's the reason you're out there, right? Because you did say you were out there doing some massive Star Wars thing.
Just super pumped. Super pumped for Star Wars. It's like the Wired released their article of like the best 7 screens to see Star Wars on, and the one we're going to is on it. So I'm just
was number 1 a screen in like 1983 when you would have been an appropriate age and for one of the good movies?
Yes.
Did it involve a DeLorean? Is that the only way you could see Star Wars and actually enjoy it as a reasonable human being? And
listen,
what else in life could you ever say?
Bring me down.
What else in life could you ever say to someone eye to eye, intellectually, and expect to be respected? Yeah, I used to really be into that when I was 6, so I can't wait to watch it when I'm like 30. What other fucking show would that apply to? You can't even watch your fucking vicar get his dick out and eventually throw it down your throat again. That's not even condescending.
I beg to differ about that, Duncan. Father Seamus.
That's not even cool anymore.
Father Seamus is the gift that keeps on giving, mate. So, especially at Christmas time.
See the way I switched that up there, fans? Now people are getting raped in the face. Not off the ass all the time. I learn from my mistakes. Yeah, I learn from my mistakes.
We tried to civilize him. We're getting there. At least a non-consensual sodomy seems to have been put on hold. Anyway, Duncan, we'll move from Moses and his nerdgasm to you. What have you been up to? How are you doing?
I'm all right. I've got to say, now that Moses is on the show, I feel like someone needs to come forward and make a public statement about this switch. The bullshit has to end. Let the era of like mistreatment of certain people stop with Moses. Because here's the thing: that Creamy Moses thing was funny. Okay, it was funny when people were saying it, and initially the screenshots were funny. Okay, some of them were quite clever. You know, like if you ever give people a chance to Photoshop, there'll always be someone who'll come up with like a unique one or a really good one. It's gone too far when Semler and K-Sharp keep doing it, because as I may remind you fans, how did Moses get that pie on his face? He played in a 3v3 match with K-Sharp and Semler, who got pies in their face. Like, it doesn't work when K-Sharp's like, haha, you got a pie in your face. Yeah, so did you, mate. So did you. You're just not charismatic enough with a pie in your face to become an international meme.
I had a long talk with Semler about that. I was like, I almost had to kick him off the team, the 3v3 team. Yeah. It's like, listen, you're going to be on the team. You're fucking all in. You can't just be, 1 foot in Europe. You can't be doing
he's done that all the time, mate.
It's unreal, isn't it?
He just slid right over and suddenly he's in EU again, isn't he?
Yeah. Mate, that's what I'm saying. Like, Don Semler will always land on his feet. I think we all know that.
But enough about Sadakist emails. In joke there, triggered. In joke,
triggered.
Love you, Matt. Triggered. Love you. Yeah.
So look, I'll tell you where we'll start. Then let's start with this patch that
you know the sad thing, Richard? Let me just say this, by the way. The main reason why Moses asked to come on the show is because the patch had just come out like a day before the show before. He was going mental, like, I've got to come on this show so we can wreck this patch. Of course, it's the only patch in history they've actually rolled back. So here's what people don't know, Richard. I think that Valve didn't listen to the community. I think they saw that we were having a show where Moses was coming on and they knew he was going to lay down the holy wrath of God on their bitch asses. So they rolled back everything.
Oh my God! I think I was drunk when that update came out. I was just like laughing away. I was just giggling at everything. I was just looking at all the Revolver clips. I was reading all the update for it, and I was like, "Holy shit! This can't be true."
Yeah, it was, but it isn't anymore. So, as Duncan rightly points out, this is one of the first instances I can think of in any game where a patch has come out and not been just hot fixed, not been updated, tweaked in a super short space of time, but has actually been rolled back, eradicated from the metagame as if it never happened, based on community pressure. So I guess, first of all, Moses, do you think that's a good thing moving forward? Because on the one hand, I agree with Valve rolling it back. I wasn't happy with a lot of the additions and a lot of the changes, although I thought some of it might have been workable. But I also think the idea of patching a game by committee and showing the community that they have this kind of power can be extremely dangerous for the development of a game.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like the complete rollback. I wouldn't have minded if they went back and like obviously rolled back some of the major stuff. It's also hard. I didn't get a chance to play it at all before it got rolled back, being at the Pro League. So, I mean, there was obvious things that, you know, the update didn't seem that bad to me. Obviously, I just said I didn't get to play it, but like the biggest issue for me was, from a competitive aspect, is the round and C4 timers. I think, you know, rolling back the Revolver nerf was obviously going to happen at a certain point. So that didn't really concern me. I didn't really get to test any of the spray or the new rifle inaccuracies. The pistols needed work, and I didn't mind that they messed with the pistols. They probably, from what I've heard from pros too, most of those pistol changes were great, except for the fact that they also impacted like the USP and the Glock. Yeah. Like if you use those pistol inaccuracies for the other weapons during the eco rounds, you know, not the Glock and the USP, then all of a sudden everything is, you know, it's pretty decent update. It's just the issue is they also throw in all this monstrosity that all the good stuff just gets far overshadowed by all the shit. And it's just kind of, I mean, that's just kind of a thing that we've been dealing with for a while. So it does worry me a little bit that the community was able to, you know, force a complete rollback of virtually everything.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said that when communities sort of realize they have power and the extremes they're willing to go to, I never like it. It never makes me feel comfortable because some people do take it too far. You know, like me and Duncan, we did a show. Yeah, we spent 45 minutes wrecking the patch, right? I mean, that's kind of like what we're licensed to do in our jobs. And I think we repeated a lot of what the community would have wanted to say anyway. But what I don't like is the idea that people then went on Steam and started putting negative reviews in of CSGO on Steam curation pages, on Metacritic. You know, I have no idea. There was people talking about, you know, let's get some concerted like boycott of the game going. Let's not log in and play it and show people.
Richard, I don't know if you saw this, but this will trigger you if you didn't see it, because they actually did the Dota 2 thing. They went on Steam and downvoted or put bad reviews of CS.
That's awful.
Which doesn't make any sense, does it, at all? Like, I really loved this game, but now it's a bit worse. Bad game, don't buy it. Like, yeah, you're an intelligent person, mate. That's like you don't like your factory sisters going out with a guy who's from an urban area for whatever reason, the analogy. So you just like, she's got AIDS, you know, just start telling everyone that. Like, brilliant, yeah, that's going to solve a lot, isn't it? Plus, what if he's into that?
Yeah. Sounds like you've got some personal experience.
Complete the analogy. Complete the analogy.
Right, why not? But listen, yeah, like I you know, I can't really get my head around why anybody would do that. And, you know, I talked a lot about what happened in Dota 2, another Valve game with the Diatide situation and where that went. And yeah, they did that. They did the negative review thing. They posted on Volvo's Facebook, prompting Volvo to sort of have to come out and like be like, haha, try and make a joke about it. They wrote to they emailed the fucking White House official email. And just when you think it can't get dumber, they then take a guy called Matt Bailey, aka Cyborg Matt, a guy who's done nothing but good work for the Dota 2 scene. He was the guy who used to disseminate all the patches and, kind of encapsulated in a format that everybody could understand. And his personal information gets leaked onto the internet, and people are calling him up at 4 a.m., threatening to kill him and all sorts of shit. And because he hasn't made Valve put Diatide in the fucking game. So I know how ridiculous it can get. And this is where I feel sorry for Valve, because they're in a catch-22 at this point. Do you stand by the changes you've made to the game, even though everybody seems to hate them? Or do you roll it back, show weakness, and then next time there's an update in the game, maybe community pressure goes a little bit further, and the expectation now will be Valve will change. Valve will listen to the community if we beat our drums loud enough.
Yeah, but here's the problem with that, is that on one hand, you want to have sympathy for Valve in that sense, but they created this problem as well. Yeah. Because they're the only company I know of whose idea of patching would be, so we're going to put in this totally overpowered experimental pistol that we've never tried before. Whoa, that could have a lot of implications. I'm not finished. I'm going to change all the rifles so that the spray is really good and put an accuracy on all of them. Well, I mean, that seems like a lot. Did I say I was finished? And then I'm going to get all the pistols. I'm going to double their accuracy while moving. Jesus Christ, how much are you going to do? Did I say I was finished? And then I'm going to take the round time. Round time? Who's talking about round time? That's going up. Wait a minute, what? I'm not finished. Bomb time has gone up. Like, how many fucking things are you going to change at once? What else am I going to do? Am I going to wake up and am I going to actually be the new Caitlyn Jenner as well? Do I have to try out a new gender while I'm playing CSGO? This show's going everywhere today. Analogy game, incredibly on point. But you see my point is that they tried to put 10 different things in at once. So then, when everyone was like, we hate all these changes. Well, what changes specifically? Well, I mean, whatever, I'll change it all. That's not what we asked for. What's funny about this is, the Revolver one, the R8, probably you should just take that out of the game entirely if you could. They didn't do that, by the way, you'll notice. But nerf it a bunch, okay. The spray one, again, I could see bringing that back to normal. That's okay. But what's mad is the one that they've left in is the round timer, which I think is one of the most contentious points. Yeah. And then the one that they took out, which I can't see anyone who's complaining about, was the pistol one. Because, okay, there's two pistols it affected, which is the Glock and the Tech 9, are supposed to be used while moving. It didn't make sense, of those. But all the other pistols, I think that was actually a good change to make, all the weapons aside from Glock and Tech 9, if you make them so they're more accurate while moving, I think that's a positive change. That takes away some of the OP shit that we've seen recently. So one of the changes, at least, probably should have stayed in. And the problem with this is, Call's Valve don't update the game gradually and tweak values. They've done such a radical change, they have rehauled nearly all of it. So I think they kind of set it up themselves where it was a problem.
To me, it just showed a disconnect with what the community is looking for. I mean, we've talked about trying to, fix smokes, and it seemed like they almost got to a point where they were just like, okay, we don't know how to fix the smokes, so we're just going to increase the round timer so that, they're just not as impactful late round.
I love that logic as well.
Yeah, they're like, we don't know actually how to fix it, so we'll just up this number. And then you look at the defuse also, the bomb timer going up 5 seconds. That's a kit. You no longer need to buy kits in the game. I mean, there's $400 counter-terrorist teams don't need to spend anymore. So, I mean, there goes that impact. And I think at some point and I know they can't cater 100% towards the professional community, but even the fun of this game is the competitive aspect, the competitive rule set. And by changing that, those small changes have such a huge impact on how this game is played competitively and professionally. That one $400, there's an extra smoke, there's 2 extra flashbangs for a team. So it's just this weird situation where it's almost like that butterfly effect, where one small change in a system that they don't even think about is going to impact the game entirely. And it's
that's
just
the
really,
movie
really
analogy you've got right there. The movie The Butterfly Effect, that shit one with Ashton Kutcher. That's what Valve trying to change CS is like. Right, well, okay, I'll fix things now, guys. I'll just change this thing over here. Your grandfather's now here blinking. What the fuck? What am I doing here? Right, better change that again. It's gone back now. We're now in prehistoric times. Will you stop fucking around what you're doing?
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's definitely worth, mentioning that. I feel that you're right. Well, Valve understand that one little change like that can have a huge impact on the game in unexpected ways a lot of the time. They've explained that to me directly. That's their design philosophy. So it did seem supremely weird that they would make such wholesale sweeping changes to the game in one patch, when usually what they would do is incrementally introduce them. And I agree, it's a bizarre change. Now, for the increased amount of time for the CTs and the increased amount of round time. What they've alluded to there is that they feel that will make the game more balanced. Even though I feel that if you increase the round time, maybe it gives terrorist sides a bit more time to play with. I don't really know how much of a difference it would make. I'd need to see it play out, but certainly the CTs didn't need an additional advantage when it came to defuse timers. I don't think that needed to be there at all. And I don't think anybody wanted it. And then you've got the other issue. Why are Valve changing something that's been in place for 15 years?
Yeah.
Why now? What is it they know that we don't? And that's the other thing, I guess. You've got to clarify it. You've got to explain why you're making the changes. Don't just say it's an experiment. We want to see what happens. Tell us what problem you're trying to specifically combat with that change.
It also, I feel like it's got to come down to something where we've gotten to the point now where this game is old enough where people who don't play professionally, but they're like matchmakers, are just like, we want the same settings that the pros use. And it's almost like they found that middle ground in between them and just did that. I don't know. It's so curious as to why they did it. And I've been trying to think if I think the game is going to be more CT or T-sided now. And you got to imagine that once again, it's just going to put more of an impact on the economy, because now there's extra time in every round for teams like a terrorist team to wait out smokes. I almost think it's going to, just keep getting more and more T-sided. They already have an advantage when it comes to buying in terms of economy. You have the Tech 9 pistol, which is just absolutely insane what you can do with that. It's almost 5 Tech 9s is like, if you have 5 Tech 9s in armor and full utility, that's a pretty decent buy. Really scary situation. And now you have extra seconds where if CT team has to force buy because they've lost too many rounds, they're out of smokes, but they have to spend the money to try and go for the round. So they're just at more of a disadvantage because they don't have the tools to deal with the Tech 9s. So it's like it's getting very, very scary to where this game is. I love it and I love watching it. I love how it's going now, but it's like the game is artificially T-sided, and I guess it just comes down to whether you as a person believe that's an issue, but it's T-sided because the economy has such an impact and the economy leans in the direction of the terrorist team.
I'm going to wait and see how that pans out. I mean, Duncan, I never asked you how you think this is going to affect the game. We spent so long ripping on everything else to do with the patch that we barely touched upon that at all. I mean, did you share Moses' thoughts that it'll become more T-side?
Yeah and no, because on one hand, one of the first things I thought of when I saw the bomb timer change especially was the fact that it actually lessens the impact of making a really cool fake. Like if you actually completely fake the enemy out and he's rotated 4 guys to the other side, well, 1 guy to the other side to make 4 at the other one, actually he has extra time to come over to the site now. So in theory, you don't get as much time off the clock. Like I gave the example of the infamous Very Games versus Complexity Inferno game at the first CS Major, DreamHack Winter 2013, where the whole reason it worked was not only that was the ultimate fake, because they actually sold that it was a fake on B on Inferno, and because they smoked it off, Very Games even stayed at B on Inferno, and then once they realized it wasn't there, they couldn't even get to the site to defuse it. Well, if they had 5 seconds more, maybe they can just get it takes stuff like that slightly away. It makes it a little bit worse. So I wasn't a big fan of it myself. And also, you look at the best clutch players in the world, they never are running out of time. Like it's never a case that they're like 5 or 10 seconds off. They make use of the time they have because they're forming up the plan quickly and they go according to how fast it is. So I don't know what the necessity to that change was, like what it was supposed to add to the game, especially because again, on a pro level, it just ruins the whole economy of do you have diffuse kits and stuff like that. I still think diffuse kit will obviously be important. I think people have overplayed the fact that you don't ever need them because knowing CSGO pros, they aren't disciplined, so they will just now not have a kit after having 5 seconds extra to do it. That will happen with some team like Na'Vi or something and they'll just rage out. But in theory, it has lessened some of the impact of that sort of thing. In fact, that general topic, though, is one that annoys me. One thing I've noticed, think about this, Moses. Think about all the changes we've had over the years where the obvious change in isolation would be to say something like, right, let's cut down the smoke times. Let's buff this gun here, like a T-pistol or something. Oh, let's let's make something weaker on CT, like, oh, it's too easy to spray with an M4A1. Most of the reason why, even if you thought in isolation that should have happened, why none of us suggested it, is because Counter-Strike famously used to be way too CT-sided. In fact, every map at one point in time, Moses, was CT-sided. People might not know this. Dust 2 even was CT-sided, the most famous T-sided map from all of 1.6 history. And the problem was, because every change would make the game even more fixed over towards CT side to a degree in a lot of these aspects, because even if you changed it in isolation, the way it'd be used in the pro scene would actually make it CT side again. Like, for example, then a terrorist couldn't throw down a smoke when he's in a site, etc. It wouldn't have as much impact. So everything you thought would fix it would just make the game even more skewed. I even think that I don't want Valve to think that way. I don't want them to think of the large pick, because you notice they fuck up anyway. All the things they did in the last patch, they fucked up every knock-on effect anyway. They don't know what the knock-on effect is. I'd rather they just try to fix each individual thing, like say, does this make sense? Then look at how it works in the bigger scene. Because a lot of these changes, it feels as though you do or don't do them because you're trying to like build the bigger meta game. But I don't know that you can do that exactly, because we've got a lot of problems in the game, for my money, where they probably should just be fixed in isolation, not based on like, because Valve, I get the sense that is the reason why Valve does these things. They think things like, well, you have to have an accuracy in the first bullet, because I don't want a 2,700 rifle to beat an AWP from long range. But then you notice they never apply that logic to like, well, I have an AWP that costs 4,750 and people are buying pistols for $700 and banging my head off with one bullet. That's not a problem, is it? Well, they have their own criteria for whether it matters or not. That sort of bigger picture, I notice.
Yeah, that revolver, that would have been fun to see. We were just laughing about it because we were just like, imagine if this revolver stays in like next month, like a tournament. If you put that revolver in pros' hands, I mean, they're going to start learning the timing of like when they can click and hold that mouse one and when it actually, the delay of that half second. And then they're just going to use that peeker's advantage. They're going to jiggle peek a corner and you're just dead. I mean, there's not even going to be a chance for a response whatsoever. So it was like the silliest thing in the world. But that is the hard part. And that kind of brings you right into that argument of, and you remember this happened in the 1.6 scene. Does there need to be like a pro mod? That's kind of the thing, because if you make these changes for a larger community, once you put it in professionals' hands who are so incredibly skilled, I mean, even something very, very small and something that seems very innocent just gets abused. So it starts to get into those murky waters of whether we want to divide the community.
Really, Moses, something small and very, very innocent just gets abused, does it? When you put it in the safe hands of a professional. Much time as a choir boy was there, Moses? Was there something you need to tell us about? Were you creamy Moses back then?
Unbelievable.
Creamy Moses back then. That's
no one would have caught that except for you.
I know.
Not even Richard brought it up. Like, he didn't even blink.
I'm just listening to the subtext the whole time, mate. That's all I'm listening to.
It's not my job. On this show, I don't have to be edgy. Duncan does it for both of us. So I'm letting it go. I know Duncan's got me covered when it comes to edge. So, look, anyway. Let's move on to the ESEA ESL Pro League, which I'm going to be honest, I only caught the final, so I mean we'll definitely talk about the build up to the final, but it was a fucking great final actually.
Oh yeah, it was beautiful. It was great to watch.
Yeah, so let's just get into some of the results that sort of happened. And the talking points therein. I think we can maybe talk again about the ex-TSM team, question mark as they are at the moment. Really bizarre, actually. They haven't announced the new organization yet, given, I think, when they changed their name to question mark, I believe their manager, Frederick Biskov, did say on Twitter that you would know within like 24 hours. And
I think one of them, like Dupree or something, even said, tomorrow you'll find out, but it's a secret. And obviously the implication was we're joining Team Secret. Yeah. So there is something, I think something's gone on behind the scenes where they had to delay it. I can only assume as much, because otherwise, why would you create a fake campaign that never went anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, it is bizarre, to say the least. But anyway, they did lose to Fnatic in the semis. And it was, I mean, to be fair, it was a pretty close game. It wasn't like it was Fnatic had all their own way, but it does continue this sort of downward trajectory that the team is on and has been on pretty much since Cluj. And it doesn't bode well for whoever actually picks them up. But anyway, so just to recap, they lost 16-12 on Inferno. They lost 16-14 on Mirage. Device had a great series after having a poor run of form, but the rest of his teammates not really able to get up to that level. Otherwise, I think they probably could have won if one of the player had a sort of breakout performance like he did. Meanwhile, Fnatic trundling along steadily, and we'll talk about them, obviously, because they won the event. But what do we make of what's going on with the Danes at the moment? Does anyone have any insight?
I thought they were better at this tournament than they were at the last two. Like, the difference is losing to Fnatic and on the maps they lost to is absolutely fair. I mean, believe it or not, they played Fnatic on Fnatic's 2 best maps, so you're already going to have a chance of getting 2-0 on their hands. Even so, they gave a good accounting of themselves, and probably the best sign of all is that Device played well through the whole tournament. I've got to say, by the way, just as a point to make, whenever people shit on TSM when they've had bad tournaments recently, or ex-TSM, where they've lost to SK and they finished 4th place at FACEIT, okay, that's not very good. They had the obviously the FACEIT Stage 3 run where they made top 4, but then they lost to Luminosity on the last map very closely. And then now they've finished top 4 here and lost to the eventual champions. Just let's be real a second. Their version of being bad is not the same as some other teams' version of a slump. They finish top 4 at every event, if not make runs to the final of IEM San Jose, make top 4s here. They lose in narrow fashion. And not only that, but even at the tournaments where they've had slumps, and for example, the ones where Device has gone totally to shit, earlier on in the tournament against lesser teams, they and Device body still. Like, Device in the FACEIT tournament had that game against Liquid where he was like 28-2 or something, you know. There's a difference. Their version of a slump is bad for the elite level, but it's still way better than a lot of teams in the world. So I feel like people have gone too far on the other end of that, as though, like, you know, they were never a good team, their time's done, Device isn't a good player. Device is a fantastic player still. You saw at this tournament, he's a very, very good player. Their problem for me, still, here's the part that's not good. So they're the positive things. It's fine to lose to Fnatic. You did beat Na'Vi. You did beat CLG. The problem for me with TSM is they still have map pool issues. They're the first team I can think of as an elite level team who legitimately look scared to play half of the maps. Like, they don't go towards maps that they were favorites on before. So in the series against Fnatic, they picked Mirage. Now, yes, Mirage is one of the few maps that's been good to them still, that they're really good on, okay? But of all the maps they could have picked, they could have picked Dust 2 there. That's their home map that they've been amazing on. Because they've had a few key losses on it, suddenly they're scared to play that map. They don't want to play that. We know Fnatic's good on it, but I'd have rather played Dust 2 as the second map if I'm TSM there, not risk getting 2-0'd. We saw, at least they started venturing into Train now. They allowed Train to actually come into the map pool and went for the Cobblestone ban again. So, I mean, beating Na'Vi in a series was pretty good. That's legit. But I still feel as though, yeah, there's some nervousness there. And actually, a lot of how they won their rounds in games looked a bit like the old Dignitas, not like TSM. They won by a lot of CT rounds, actually. So it wasn't so much. When I think of TSM being really good, they had really strong T-halves when they were earlier in the year, a couple of months ago. So I think the two things that have gone to shit. Device a little bit went down, but he's picking that up gradually. He was good at the last tournament. He's getting good here. The two areas that they've gone to shit for me is map pool's gone completely to shit. And then also T-sides have got, you can see there's like a lack of confidence there. And that stems, I think, from some of the issues we talked about before, where it feels like maybe Karrigan doesn't have complete control over the team anymore, or people don't trust him entirely, and they're trying to do it more by committee as a team.
Moses, anything to add to that?
It's weird watching them play because I still don't think, I watched some VODs leading up towards Pro League and then obviously all their matches there, but, I don't see anything like tactically or strategically that they do wrong. There just comes a point. You notice it in the Fnatic matchup they had. There comes a point on like Inferno where they just went up there. I don't think they've lost a round. They might have lost pistol round or something on their CT side of Inferno, and they go on like 10 rounds straight, and all of a sudden the score gap closes. They're up like 13-11 or something like that, or 12-11. I don't remember the exact score line, but they're up by like 2 rounds. And Fnatic cause a pause because they're just getting shut out on their T side. Get out of the pause, and TQM players just start missing shots, like easy crossfire setups where they spray, and it goes absolutely nowhere. It doesn't hit anyone. You look next on a Mirage when they have a good lead towards the end of the match, and Fnatic basically does just a B execution with only Tech 9 and armor and some smokes, and one player rushes through a smoke and kills like 3 of them. It was Dennis. And it's just like there's these really small lapses or just really crazy breakdown at the worst moment, and then on top of that, they just don't hit shots anymore. Like I think Kerrigan through Mirage was a beast, and then all of a sudden Fnatic called a timeout, and then we come out of the timeout, and Kerrigan can't hit an op shot. So I mean that's the only thing, and I hate characterizing them as like chokers. I don't think they choke, but just something happens, and it's weird because you almost can't characterize it as anything but a choke. So they need to figure something out. I think it's like a mental confidence issue. I think especially at this event, you could see it in EnVyUs as well. It's just, the end of the year winding down, last event. Everyone's ready to be done with this hectic schedule they had. Everyone seemed out of sorts. Even Fnatic didn't look, I thought Na'Vi looked like the best team. Fnatic looked shaky at times.
Here's the sick thing, though, Moses. I was actually talking about this with someone the other day. I was talking about like the way that the ESEA Pro League went down and the characterization of what the CS we saw there was. And so obviously it's easy to like criticize EnVyUs and how badly it went for them because you look at their style and they obviously have these real problems on like T sides. They just seem to play free for all style. They're not proper tactics. Yet they've got all this mad skill. So it works for them. Again, just like TSM, it works the majority of the time, except against the world-class teams. Okay, that's their problem. Now, here's the problem I have with that is that if you're going to criticize that, you got to be reasonable, I'm afraid, and criticize Fnatic because they do the same shit.
Oh my God.
Fnatic get away with miracles because they have Olofmeister going ham again. Yep. And now the whole team, now they're like, haha, we force-spiked Eagles, but Dennis gets 3 headshots. That's not tactics. So what drives me crazy, Moses, is I would be fine with EnVyUs and Fnatic fucking around, not having in-game leaders, not having tactics, and just mad skilling the game, okay? Because it would work sometimes. But the solution to that should be they should get punished by TSM because TSM's the only team that has just as much skill as them, but also had the tactical foundation, had the map pool, and could win that way. Like Virtus.pro has the map pool, but has a little less skill than these teams. It has to come from certain players. Na'Vi needs everyone going off all cylinders, has the tactics, but they need everything perfect. And you saw even when it goes perfect, they can lose. So for me, TSM should be the counter to these EnVyUs and Fnatic teams playing such a skill-based free-for-all style. But because they're fucking up and they're choking, it's not working.
Well, they would be the counter if they could close out those matches. I mean, you can watch that BO3 again. They definitely should have won one of those maps. Definitely should have won Mirage. Probably should have won Inferno. Same with Na'Vi. I mean, Na'Vi loses those first 2 maps in the grand final, 16-14. They should have won both of those maps. And it's insane that there just comes a moment when they're playing against Fnatic where something just clicks, and it's like they have magnetic armor where all the bullets just kind of curve around them and don't hit them. Like players just like make bad decisions. And like the only thing, like even talking to Fifi, it's just like, these pauses, when they happen, it's just other teams, like they psych each other out. When Fnatic calls a pause, all of a sudden the other team is worrying so much about what Fnatic's going to do that they're trying to like mind game it or counter whatever Fnatic's going to do to counter it, and they psych themselves out of the game. And that's really like one of the only explanations. That and choking is just because all of a sudden it's just a collapse of individual skill against Fnatic. It makes no sense. Because Fnatic doesn't do anything. They don't do anything.
They never did. It's never they came, even that famous Cologne one where they went all the way through the tournament using those pauses. They never did figure out some secret. Put it this way, it wasn't like a movie and they literally got in the huddle and were like, "Listen, this is the secret play that we've come up with. I just drew it up here." Really, all they did is they took the pause, they emotionally reset, but then the other team emotionally reset, and then they just came out and won the rounds because they were the better team in some senses,
I mean, the problems that I can sort of sense is, and we've talked about this on previous shows, the drafting phase has definitely gone to shit, and the reason for that is they're doing it by committee. It's that simple. There isn't a strong presence who has a game plan. You would expect it to be your in-game leader. And they're getting to this stage now where, for different reasons, they're watching them draft maps is almost as frustrating as watching vintage NIP do it, where they always seem to conspire to pick into their opponent's strongest map. Well, what TSM are doing is they seem to conspire to not pick maps that they would actually have a chance on because they've had these freakish anomaly results that make them scared to play it. Dust 2 recently. This was a team with like a 70% win rate on Train, both online and offline, and yet they had that NIP result at Cluj, and now they don't want to play Train anymore. Yeah. Why is that? That makes no sense. The numbers speak for themselves. You're always gonna have weird results like that where you just get unlucky or you don't play at your level, but you've got to operate on, we win this map more often than we lose it. That's just the basics, and that isn't happening right now. And I've heard that from the horse's mouth.
Moses, think of this. If I just take you in isolation and we imagine we're in the veto phase for TSM now, and I tell you that, as expected, Fnatic's going to ban Overpass, because that's what they do at the moment, okay? So we know want to ban Cobblestone. Those are obvious, okay? Those are fine. But that means that the last 3 maps that are left after Fnatic picks Inferno is you got Mirage, Train, and Cash. Now, we know doesn't want to play Cash, but Fnatic's already picked Inferno. They didn't pick Cash, which would be really bad for you. They've picked Inferno, which is actually a good map for you. So since you know the last maps left is Cash, Mirage, you're going to ban Cash anyway. You've got a choice now, Mirage or Train, you can pick at this point in time. And you know Fnatic probably, they might allow Mirage to be the last map. So you might get a map that you want anyway as your third map. If you're TSM, you could pick Train into Fnatic there. Fnatic aren't amazing on Train. In fact, I think Train is the ultimate example, as you saw in the final, of a map that Fnatic win because of how incredible their team is in this honeymoon phase they're on at the moment. I've never thought Train was actually a Fnatic map. They always used to win it because of Olofmeister. It was always like one player just massively wrecking the game, and every now and then if JW can contribute, they can get something going there. They're not that good on either side of Train. So actually, if I'm TSM, that's where you want to have the strength, because again, envious to Fnatic, they aren't trained teams, so you want to be going towards that. You don't want to be sat in the world of Mirage, which is like one of the best maps for Fnatic, unless you think you're a better team overall. And at the moment, you've got your issues, so you've got to at least draft smart before you get in the game, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of issues going on in the map phase. I said during the analyst segment that I wish they would have picked Train, because I mean, they did just beat Na'Vi on it. And I just think that that's a map that even when Virtus Pro is at the height of like the #1 team in the world on Train, TSM was able to compete with them on it consistently. And for whatever reason, it just comes right back to that lack of confidence they have in their team right now, where they just I guess, I don't know what it is, but they just, for whatever reason, think their Train is not a good map for them.
Yeah, and the other thing, and I wanted to talk about this, is I've been looking at the player performances, again, just statistics rather than sort of anecdotal evidence. And I got to say, we talk about Cajun and how he can be this like massive impact player. Well, where he used to have this super high ceiling and could do all of these, incredible things and would post huge numbers. But the payoff for that was he would have also these sort of like, standout bad performances, but those were usually rare. Well, just in recent games, it seems to me at least that Cajun isn't really posting the sort of numbers you would expect, and hasn't really had a high level performance against top tier opposition. For a while. He had a few maps in Cluj while the team was kind of malfunctioning. But if you look at all his recent statistics, he's not breaking into positive ratings or just above positive ratings like +1 and stuff. He's barely doing that. So, and this is like the consistent trend in his form. So is that something to be worried about? Because we look to Cajun as being an impact player.
I don't think it's too concerning. I think this is like Duncan said earlier, this is a team that still places top 4 in every event. You obviously want him to be stepping things up, but purely based on those statistics, I think if he's fitting well into this team, you look at the matches they're playing, even in the semifinals, they're close losses. I don't think that, when you're getting to the semifinals, when you're top 4 and you have a player who's, Cajun maybe not hitting the point you want him to, I think you still give them a chance to turn it around, because it's not like they're in that scary of a spot. They just went to Xyp9x previously in the year, and they were like, listen, you're not up to par right now. We need you to get to a better level individual, and he's stepped up massively recently. And when you have one player stepping up massively, that's another thing too. When Xyp9x is all of a sudden getting more kills than he used to, than when Cajun was excelling, all of a sudden there's just not enough kills to go around. You obviously want to have more of those games where Cajun just takes over and dominates, but I don't think it's a massive issue for them to be too worried about.
Yeah, but the big problem I think for them is the fact that AZ's gone. He's already gone to G2, so it's kind of that would be the obvious fix to make. It's too late for that. That signing's already done. Whereas, in fact, that's why I never got in the first place. I actually said this to TSM. Like, I get it that apparently they thought Xyp9x's performance wasn't that good, and that was before he turned the corner and started having these really good performances when they were threatening to bring AZ in. But I actually never understood the idea that you were going to have those like 4 fraggers and Karrigan. Like, to me, Xyp9x is a fragger, but from the support role. He's very much like a Crims type guy who dominates from that very specific role. So if anything, the obvious change to me always was to take out Cajun and put in AZ if you were going to make an upgrade. So I have to say, Cajun has been underwhelming the last couple of months, like the last 3 or 4 events. I think he was like all right at San Jose, but admittedly they didn't play that many good teams there, to be fair. I think overall, I have to say he's the guy who's been the weak link. Because you look, okay, Karrigan doesn't have to frag. Again, he's the in-game leader. They've got such a good team. But if cajunB isn't having even those maps that he used to have every now and then, we just go crazy, a lot of his value goes, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. We talked about the Fragbite Masters and how it was almost like an embarrassment to see this team lose to SK Gaming. And if you look at the numbers...
he was the worst player at that team.
Yeah, I mean, 12 for 22 on Mirage, which they lose 16-13. So conceivably, if you even add maybe 3 more kills, 4 more kills, that can be enough to tip you over, maybe push an overtime, maybe a 16-14 win. And then on Cash, where you would expect somebody like Cajun, who's got that skill set, good with a scout, good with an AWP, you would expect him to be able to do something. 8 for 17 in a 16-2 defeat. That for me was what started me thinking about where he was performance-wise. And since then, I don't know, it's just this really sort of insipid level of performance from him. Like, he's just doing what I feel almost any player of that type should be doing. You know, it's not... I haven't seen that terrifying skill ceiling that used to get people worried. You think about it, 3 months ago when we used to do desks and we would go around and we would ask people, who's going to be the impact player? Who's the one to watch? And everyone would say, well, if cajunB goes ham, this is going to push them over the top. This is going to make TSM winners. Well, no one's going to be saying that going into 2016 based on some of these performances. And I don't know what's changed. But it, for me, it's there in black and white that cajunB hasn't been at his best for some time.
If I'm that lineup right now, I'm not even thinking anything about roster changes or anything right now. I'm saying, you know, we had a really weird end of the year where we kind of slipped back into that form where we're choking in big matches. We had this roster, this organizational upheaval, and we have a lot of things we're dealing with. They're trying to do things a little bit more independently, searching for a new org. And I'm just saying, let's just forget about 2015, go on a 2 to 3 week break. Let's all chill, and let's come back in 2016 and reevaluate there. Just because I think they're just in a spot now where they've been dealing with so much stuff between the TSM org that I don't like. These are decisions I feel like they would be making, you know, in a not a proper state of mind to properly make them.
Sentiments you echo, Duncan?
I mean, if in your slump you can still get to be one of the few teams that plays the champions of the event very closely, you're always top 4. You're even making finals of some events. It shows you've got the pieces there. You're still a fantastic team. I do think there are things that they can definitely fix within the team. Like this is actually where, for me, what I think will decide it is what Karrigan does at this point in time. If he really allows his players to have like a committee aspect where they vote and veto what they're going to do and how they're going to play the game, I don't think it'll get turned around because players are like so... Pro players are like really superstitious in terms of how they act. Like they lose one key map, oh, we can't play that map anymore. I'm not comfortable playing this spot anymore. At that point in time, it's really got to be like a job. The guy who's the in-game leader has to look at the bigger picture and go, if we don't have certain maps here, we don't get the edges we used to have on these teams. So we're going to play these maps and either we're going to make it work, which is the positive side, or we're going to replace people who can't play them, or we're going to have to do something drastic. Like you're going to have to give up a spot to someone who can play that spot because it's not an option to be like, you know what? Like Envious style, oh, we'll just be a 3-map team and hope it will win all these events. It ain't gonna work for you, mate.
So let's look at the other semi-final. It's almost like there's a similar story going on here with TSM. We talked about how they've had this weird but functional slump where they're still good, they're still getting finishes, but you kind of feel a bit disappointed because they've got the potential to be doing so much more. Well, Envious, the team that I talked up, I was absolutely confident they were going to win the major in Cluj. I talked about this team being the best team in the world, how we were going to enter into the Envious era. Well, one part of my prediction came true. And then since winning that major, something hasn't been right. And here we saw them again in a semi-final against Na'Vi. A team who have been having problems of their own, let's not forget. Internally, Na'Vi's been a mess. Clearly, there has been something wrong. And Envious, once again, weren't able to put them to bed. And I think what's surprising is the nature of the series they lost, and I'll clarify that. So this is Envious playing Na'Vi, and they get Dust 2 and Cobblestone as the first 2 maps. Well, you got to back Envious all day for that, surely. I mean, even if the disparity between the two teams in terms of level wasn't enough, for them to get those 2 maps that we know these are arguably, their 2 best maps, certainly 2 of their best maps, and that should be a perfect series for them. And instead, what happens is Na'Vi wins 16-9 and 22-18 with an OT win.
Here's one of the reasons. Mirage
would have been Mirage, which we all know how that would have gone.
But here's the problem: that the pick ban alone had got Envious pretty fucked there. Like, it was going to give Na'Vi a chance all day. In fact, that's one of the reasons why Na'Vi's always matched up against them well, because Na'Vi has a massive map pool considering they're an underdog team. So in this world, Envious, as usual, had to ban Overpass. They do every time. Na'Vi bans Cash, which is another perma ban. So then that leaves the rest of the pool wide open. So when Na'Vi were the ones who picked Dust 2, obviously. Now, here's the problem. Both of these teams have like opposite reputations at the moment on this map, which is that one of the reasons actually why I think that Envious was so good initially and had such an edge on people when they made this lineup is people kept banning as though it was the old Envious. The old Envious was Dust 2 and Cash all day long. Dust 2, best team in the world. The new Envious is not good on Dust, actually. That's like a questionable to at times just shaky map for them. They have so much skill, and it is a POG map, that they can still get rounds on it. They're never going to get like 16-1 on Dust 2. But I've seen a bunch of times where they don't want to play that map. They don't go towards it. They don't pick it. And also they lose key times in it. So people still had the rep up until recently. Oh, you don't want to play them on Dust 2. You do. If you're a really good Dust 2 team, you do. And here's the thing. On the other side of the equation, people think Na'Vi's not that great a Dust 2 team, right? Because they themselves were going away from it last 3 to 4 months. They weren't playing Dust 2. No, Dust 2 right now is Na'Vi's best map. They had won something crazy like 7 out of the last 8 offline before they went into that series. They're really good on Dust 2. That's a great map for them. So that one, to me, I would have predicted that Na'Vi would win that map. Here's the part it's bad for Envious, is that even if Na'Vi had won Dust 2, Cobblestone should have definitely been Envy's win. Envy is the best Cobblestone team in the world. Na'Vi's good on it. It's one of their better. It's maybe like their 3rd or 4th best map, but that should be an Envy map all day. So that's the map to me that shows the disarray that the Envious guys are in and how bad they are. And by the way, that 3rd map, say they'd gotten past Cobblestone.
Oh, if they got Mirage, they would have got wrecked.
Mirage was going to be a difficult time for them. They would have needed like mad performances to get through that, not just like playing as a team. So the draft was against them. Because as I said this before, back when they were winning everything and we were at DreamHack Winter, I said the reason why I didn't see it being an Envious era is because they still had massive issues in the map pool. And there's a number of teams who had big map pools, Virtus Pro, Na'Vi, who'd had the potential to exploit that. Now, I didn't know it'd be Fnatic at the time. Fnatic has come through anyway, but I see that as a big issue for Envious. They haven't improved their map pool. If anything, it's gotten worse.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, Moses, right? Like, at this stage, there just simply isn't, we know there's going to be, obviously, Nuke coming back at some point as well. At this stage, like, it is worrying that a top-tier team, a team that's won a major, a team that we thought could be the best in the world, still hasn't got to grips with Overpass, still hasn't got to grips with Train. Whereas you look at all of the sort of challenging teams, the people in that, potential to win a tournament, but, don't do it as often as they should. TSM we just talked about, despite all their problems, they're good on those maps. And RV, good on those maps. Virtus Pro, good on those maps. And Envious right now, they've got this hugely talented individual lineup, but they don't seem to be able to apply it to maps which you have got to be able to be competitive on in this day and age. There's just no excuse now at the end of 2015 to not be competent on all maps. Have specialities, but you've got to be able to mix it up and maybe you have one map that you just avoid all the time, like Virtus Pro does too. But that's it.
Yeah. And I had this talk with C's because I mentioned the same thing. I was just like, how is it possible that you guys have been a team for this long and you still just perma-ban Cash? I was like, have you guys ever thought about just like working on it, like pumping it out for like a month or for like a week or two before a big event, using it as a wild card, just coming into a matchup and just picking cash when no one thought when no one thought you would do it, and just surprising someone and have them not prepared. And part of the reason he said they don't do that, and I got to imagine this extends other teams, is just the schedule. There's just too many events. They don't have time to work on all these different maps. They don't have time to put it in. I actually think Envious, if they actually did put time into Overpass, they would be a pretty good team on that. That I think that's a map that lends itself to a lot of their strengths, where they have these amazing entry fraggers who are so good at coming through choke points, who are so good at coming through smokes, just pop flashing themselves through it, trading kills, getting into the bomb sites, and just playing the post plants. But I mean, it's an issue with every team, like aside from like Fnatic, which I mean doesn't even make sense to me how they're good on every map the way they are, but like you have to be good on 7 maps. And it's something I noticed in this tournament. You even look at the draft that Envy just had against Navi, is you're giving up too much to get the map you want to play. Like a lot of these teams are like, yeah, we'll take the map that we think we can win 100%, but in order to do that, we have to give the map that that's their number one pick as well. Like, I don't understand why more teams aren't good enough on maps to like take a risk, find a map that you're both 50-50 on and just beat them on it. Like, why are you taking the risk of just giving away this massive, strong map for an opponent at all times?
Well, that's the problem as well. You hit it right there, which is not only is Envious perma-banning a map, but then it's not like they have all the other maps. Every other team that can perma-ban and be good, Na'Vi, ban Cash every time, Virtus Pro, ban Dust 2 every time, that's because they play every one of the other maps, as in even the bad ones. Like, for example, Inferno is not a good statistical map for VP offline. But we all know if you play VP on Inferno, you're not just thinking it's an auto-win. You know they can play it. The difference is, if a team like Envious or Na'Vi is to let through Overpass and Cash, they will literally have it where people who don't even play those maps will be like, just pick it because we'll win it against them. They never play it. It'd be so weak for them because they never play it. Like, that's the problem someone like Envious has particularly, is that a team like Envious needs to at least play Overpass to a competent level so that when they're playing teams who aren't Overpass teams, they can then gamble and not ban it, ban a strong map for that team, and know that that team also can't just gamble and pick that as their map because it'll be so 50-50 they'll lose on it. They need it to be where the team that's not an Overpass team goes, right, well, we don't want to play that either, so just leave that and eventually it'll get banned out, and now you get to ban one of their strong maps. Doing that would immediately make a team like Envious even better. They would like start getting edges in series, because in this series, like I say, you look at the maps, okay, I did have Cobblestone definitely going to Envious, but every other map is for Na'Vi. Even though, because these two teams are close enough in terms of Na'Vi's got at least enough skill and they're good enough as a world level team, you can't give them Dust 2 and Mirage and expect to win.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, even as a more extreme example, I mean, I know this, bear with me here, but the North American teams, when they ban, you look at like how Conquest banned against Liquid, and they're like, okay, we want Inferno, we can win on Inferno, but they give up Cash and Overpass to Liquid, which is like their 2 best maps. Yep. So it's like you have no chance in this series whatsoever right off the bat. Even if you guys win Inferno, even if you guys win 16-0, Liquid's just going to smash you guys in the other 2 maps. Like, how do you, like, I don't understand the logic behind some of these big bans. So, and on top of that, I mean, you think even moving forward into 2016, I get the impression that we're going to be seeing a lot more BO5s in finals and grand finals.
I hope so.
And like, even if Envy beats Na'Vi, how do they beat Fnatic in a BO5? They don't.
Here's the thing, they could do it because they've got so much skill and they've got so many fantastic players, and when it works, they do have that Cavalier fashion that is free for all style, and they can play that Counter-Strike. Problem is, that's not a formula in the long run. That will never make you better than a Fnatic, or if they got this shit together, a TSM in terms of consistency. Like, you won't be either side. You won't win as many tournaments as Fnatic, you won't be as consistent as TSM because they've got the map pool and the players.
Yeah,
sorry, go on, Moses. No, it's good. You go.
I actually think that I just forgot what I was going to say. So take
Brilliant.
it away.
Tilted, triggered.
Brilliant. Tilted. That's that, mate. No one interrupts me.
Don't ever interrupt me again.
Yeah, exactly.
When I'm doing those sick ESL events, don't have to work with you two dickheads.
I had possibly a life-changing point to make there, Richard, and you just ruined everything for the viewers.
Well, to be fair, last time you were making a really sick point on a broadcast.
I need to become more of a hate figure.
Last time you were making a really sick point in a broadcast, someone kept pointing out that it was funny how your shoe was touching someone else's shoe. Brilliant banter. Yeah. Wicked. We're not trying to do analysis here, guys, but did you notice the shoes? I had the shoes. Brilliant, yeah. Anyway, shots fired.
You didn't like our banter here at the Pro League Finals?
Listen, mate. Some people are really good at analysis. They should do analysis. Some people want to be good at banter, but they're not. So stay away from it. You're not that good at it.
It's called shanter. It's just like shit banter. It's just beyond a joke. Like,
here's the thing.
The shanter levels were off the charts.
When you try banter anyway, so not all of it's going to work. You're going to go for jokes in the moment, or you're going to go down a path that doesn't always work out. But the problem is, some people just aren't good at banter anyway. And so when they try to force it too much, some of it's going to just be like a bit tiresome, because even some of the good banter doesn't always work out. So there's certain people who want to get on that banter train, but they don't necessarily have the chops for it right now, at least. Maybe they can get there in time.
Maybe they can join the banter kings. But anyway, the point I was going to make is just there's a spam in chat, Duncan.
Yeah,
and I
don't read chat, mate.
I know.
I never let plebs access my brain. That's a sacred space. That's like fucking Mecca. And no infidel scumlord from Twitch or Reddit will ever get to that sacred place.
Here's the thing. I think you're going to like this one. So at the moment, people are spamming. Envious's problem is that Happy never peaks unless he's perfectly flashed in or baited by at least one of his teammates. Hang on, it's scrolling right there. I'll copy-paste it. It's just insane. By far the biggest rat in CS history.
I'd argue Flasher's corner on that one, but keep going.
Feel so bad for his teammates. He's dragging them down to stroke his own ego and compensate for his Napoleon syndrome.
Oh, I like the way they put the Napoleon syndrome in there, because first of all, he is short. He is an in-game leader, but I think they also forced that just because he's French. Like, I think they just they didn't have anywhere else to go with that.
Come on, you would have shoehorned that in.
It wasn't bad. Also, much like Envious's map pool, they only have 3 points of strength, much like the hat, the 3-point hat. See what I did there?
But
reference game, incredibly on point. Jesus, historical portraits of
Richard,
Napoleon.
tell me more about Shanter, please.
Yeah.
Give me the definition.
We've had a visit from William Shanter. It's Star Trek.
Difference is, mate, this whole show's fucking Shanter. Those motherfuckers are doing it like while people are trying to make actual points about CS.
Right, so
I will say though, on that line, I've got a point to make with you, which is Envious right now. Here's the problem they have. When they're at their best, one of the reasons why people think I'm a hater to Happy is because when they're at their best, I don't really give him that much credit as an in-game leader, right? I don't really say as a tactical leader or as a motivating force, he did a great job. Because when I look at it, I don't see that happening. I see players individually making great plays, which happen to have great chemistry when it works. That free-for-all style play off each other very intuitively, and it works really well. So unfortunately, I have to give a lot of the credit to how the players play off each other. Maybe he puts the pieces in place, but the way that they interact after that is not actually down to him. He doesn't trigger these things. Now, the problem is, when that doesn't work, I don't know how you fix that, because you're essentially saying, I let people play how they want to play within the framework. So when it doesn't work, I notice Happy has no leadership skills there. He doesn't corral his troops. He doesn't pick people up. He doesn't come with a new plan. You can't fall back and go, oh, it's okay, we've got the mastermind Happy. He'll come up with a plan off the drawing board, off the cuff, that'll win us around. No. If the free-for-all style doesn't work, Envious just loses the game by not fragging. Now, that's got to be the most frustrating way to lose. And that's my simple solution as to why Envious is in disarray right now. Because you look at the players when they lose, and all they can say is like, sorry, guys, we didn't hit all our shots. Like, that can't be the reason you're losing all the time, mate.
I mean, I think what's indicative to me of some sort of deeper problem is that whenever there's a French lineup, and as we all know, there's only one player that's been in every great French lineup, and it's MBK. But whenever there's a problem within a French lineup, and MBK is obviously in that lineup, because he always is, his performance level dips. And that's because, like I say, he's like the water carrier for the team. He's the guy who says, all right, we need somebody to do this. Don't worry, I'll do it, whatever. The rest of you guys, do what you're going to do. I'm going to adapt to suit whatever the deficiency within the team is. And he does that role incredibly well. When he's underperforming, I think it's indicative of the fact that nobody's really clear what they're supposed to be doing. So everyone goes into a default role, and they get to look not so bad. And obviously we've got, Happy doing what he's doing, and Kenny S can pick up an AWP, and he can always get some kills, and Apex is always going to be an entry guy, so he's just going to run around, and he'll get an entry and he'll die. He's got his one frag, done his job, even though the cohesion wasn't there and the communication wasn't there. But it's MBK who always suffers when the fabric of the team starts to come unstitched. And if you look at the last few performances he's had, I mean, he's been nowhere near the level that we saw in Cluj Napoca, where we were like, actually, this guy is a fucking bona fide god. So that for me is what's worrying. That's usually the barometer of what's going on inside of a French team. And if MBK is not performing and isn't happy, I think there's actually some ongoing problems.
Also, Kiyashima is fucking dire right now. He just does nothing in the team. When they win, he does nothing. When they lose, doing nothing, it means that he can't contribute anything. So the big problem to me, I'm being serious, if they want to keep this style of play, it seems to work. In the modern era, the French teams don't do the existing style of super strats, but with a really skilled lineup. They're not like a TS. Basically, Very Games, for anyone who didn't follow the scene back then, was like TSM is now. They had lots of skill, but they also had a very tactical style. Instead, this modern era, the LDLC Envious era, has been about this style again and again. You put together skilled lineups, you have rough roles that make sense, and you try and play without one superstar at any point in time. You never have one star. You try and have a bunch of people, and the idea is, if one guy fucks up in this way, other people are playing well in the other parts of the map, they'll win the game that way, and you win by taking these sick aim duels. For me, if that style's going to happen, because when it goes badly, there's no obvious fix. With tactics, there's always a fix. There's always something you can be working on. There's a map you can change to if that map goes out of fashion. That's what Fnatic did. Instead, if you're this Envious team, I really think if you're going to go down this route and stick with this style, the solution, no joke, is going to be to shuffle every 6 months. Every 6 months, you have to pick the player, let's say Kiyashima now, who's not working out, pick a player who's good right now, Shox, whoever it might be, bring them in, shuffle them in, revitalize things, have a new fresh outlook for the opponent, give them a new look, start playing the style again, hope it works. If it doesn't, you wait until it drops off again. 6 months later, you shuffle another player. It doesn't sound like a way to play CS, but it's worked. And at the moment, I don't know what other option they have because, like I say, they don't have great leadership, they don't have good tactics, and they just rely on hitting people's heads.
I mean, here's the thing, though. They're stuck in this permanent problem where the option is, well, we bring Shox back. I mean, like that's the only thing they can really think of. It's quite clear that Happy's not going to change his style of in-game leadership. It's quite clear they're going to need a lot of time to nail down maps like other
people get mad when I call out NA on basic things, right? And they think I'm picking on NA. So here we go.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to call out Envious for all the same shit. Envious get paid. I don't know what Envious' salary is or what they make from stickers, but I'll take a guess, okay, guys. If I had to guess, Envious players each make more than $10,000 a month, yet they're not playing as much as some other players are. They are professional players at the top of the scene with a chance to win every tournament, and they're not all going crazy as though this was even their job. Like, they don't even play as though this was a 9-to-5 job. They're not playing as much because they're so fantastic, and that style does work when you don't even practice as much. They're abusing that fact. They're leaning on that as a crutch, their skill. Their skill should be the last aspect that tops them over and makes them near unbeatable. Instead, they're leaning on it and they're not playing. So they're doing, what's funny is that's, okay, here's I've figured it out, Richard. I know you were worried that I was going in on a top European team. It's okay. I found a way, Moses, to bring back NA being even shitter. So even when teams like TSM are scared of their map pool, don't have a strong map pool, even when Envious isn't practicing properly, aren't playing with a proper team spirit, they're still way better than NA teams. Their results are they still make like finals and top fours and have great performances. They don't lose to shitters like NA teams. But even so, they have the same indicative problems just at a higher level for me.
I don't think that. I think you guys are overblowing the danger zone that Envy is in right now. I mean, you guys are acting like the sky's fallen for.
They came in last place. Fucking face it, last place, Moses.
It's not.
How many times did the Fnatic lineup that was winning everything come last place in their run? Moses, take a guess.
Yeah. You're going to compare to the greatest team in the world.
Take a guess.
0
out of 25 events.
I understand, but I mean, this is a team that is they're working on getting slower tactics integrated into their playbook. Okay. They have some good executions on map. It's going to take time. They're trying to revamp it. I think they started off really, really hot, and I think everyone knew that at some point this was going to come. Maybe not crashing down, but they were going to come down to reality a little bit and realize they can't do this over the long term.
So you know the sad thing, Moses? Everyone else knew that. They didn't know that. When they won all those tournaments, I used to hang out with them at the after party and talk to them, and I'd have to listen to them all smugly look at me hey, you didn't predict us to win the tournament. They all really thought this is why they're like an NA team, Moses. They're like an NA team that actually has really good players in it. They literally sat there and they thought, you know how I did? It's almost, if I translated what they were saying and to make it ridiculous, it'd be like, you know how we won this tournament by picking maps that the opponent's strong on and just banging their heads off in crazy 1v1s. We'll probably just do that forever. Thorin, idiot. You analysed the game. And I was like, I'll wait my time, guys. I'll bide my time. I tried to put the little jinx on them, telling them I'd buy them that champagne if they won in DreamHack. I tried to do everything. Eventually it came round my way. It always goes my way eventually, boys.
Listen, there are some real issues in that team, but they're not quite at the point where, oh my God, this team is awful. They're about to implode. I don't think they're quite there yet.
Implode. Well, I mean, here's the difference. Even if they implode, they won't be finishing last place at other tournaments. Right. They'll still be good, that's for sure. But when you consider they were the number one team in the world and they didn't even make the finals of the last 3 events or something.
Yeah.
Or was it last 2? Yeah, last 2 events.
No, listen, it definitely doesn't look good, and they definitely know that there's issues they need to fix. I mean, talking to the players at the event, they knew there were problems. Happy's interview was really eye-opening when he said there are big issues within the team that he gave right after they got knocked out. I know they have some kind of team chemistry dynamic that's not clicking at the moment. But I mean, strategically speaking, tactically speaking, this lineup, I don't think it's quite at the nuclear option phase.
I did forget about this. Let's be real. They did still beat Fnatic 2-0 in a best of 3.
Yeah, they did.
They're the best team in the if Fnatic's the new best team, they beat them 2-0.
That was weird though, because Fnatic was I don't know what happened to them that day, but they were hella stressed during that matchup. Just watching them play at the desk, banging the desks, really aggressive comms, comms you don't normally associate with Swedish teams. They were very, very stressed out throughout that whole match. And they never had that, they got into those dire situations against TSM and Na'Vi later in the tournament, but they never really had that, that pause and then everything switches around and goes in their favor moment, which is really unlike them to not have them happen. But that was a crazy best of 3.
I mean, look, I don't want to dwell too much on it. I know Moses obviously doesn't want to get in on the edge train. He's sticking to his nice guy persona and not gonna fuck anyone over on the short. No, I know what's going on here. Obviously, there's jobs.
Who would I have fucked over? Who would I have fucked over on the show?
See, Richard, he always goes hard on NA.
How is it even possible for me to fuck anyone over?
He always goes hard on NA, but he wouldn't go hard on EU, would he? He wouldn't go hard on those top EU teams. Now he's been humbled by EU.
He's going to be working in Europe soon. Might have to see them every week. Anyway, that's fine. You can do that. But let's just... Please, look at him. Because he's such a mean asshole when we're hanging out backstage. You're like, fuck these guys. And,
yeah.
I'm going to choke a bitch in a minute. And I'm like, no, Moses, I'll handle this. Be professional. So anyway, to the final. A great final, it's got to be said. A heartbreaking one for Na'Vi, which is where I want to start. So just to contextualize it for the people who missed it, and if you did miss it, seriously, go get the VODs. You've got Na'Vi, starts on Inferno. This is Fnatic's map. Na'Vi, come out the traps. They get off to a great start, 12-3 at the half. You're like, wow, Na'Vi are looking real fucking good this tournament. Anyway, then Fnatic come back and win the second half 13-2 to win a map 16-14. So Na'Vi are gutted, but then okay, well, they're going into Dust 2, their pick, and a map, as Duncan has said, they haven't lost. For X amount of time that they've been looking really sharp on. Just beat Envious on there. It's a 9-6 half. It's okay. And then boom, it's an 8-7 half. 16-14 to Fnatic again. So at this point, you're like, well, if that doesn't fucking break your back, Bane style, and blow you out the water for a 3-0 in this best of 5, nothing's gonna. Because to lose 16-14, especially when you've had a lead or you've had a good half, that's heartbreaking. To lose 2 back-to-back, I mean, fuck it, you just want to go home. Anyway, Mirage comes rolling around. Na'Vi win it. Then we have Train, right? And Fnatic are just... They start with a 10-5 half, and I think it was on the T side. Na'Vi get 11 T rounds to win it 16-14, push it to a decider, and then Fnatic blow Na'Vi out the water 16-6 on cobblestone. So just an absolute fucking epic final. And I gotta say, Na'Vi were looking so good. Now, is this like a positive that they can end on? You know, they show all this fortitude and resilience, or is this just another what should have been story for Na'Vi?
Here's the sad part. You want it to be like the Cloud9 scenario where they almost beat Fnatic in the last season's finals, where it's like, this is great, we're going to build on this, next time we'll get them. No, it's the same as that. This was your chance. That was where you were supposed to get them on the first 3 maps or something, have the edge. You didn't. You let them beat you on key deciding maps, and you won't get that chance again. Like, for me, almost everything went right for Na'Vi in this tournament. So all the people who are Flamey fans, okay, you had a great tournament, right? He had 200 tournaments this year where he went ham. ESWC in this one. Difference is, ESWC didn't have Fnatic and TSM, so this is a better performance. So he went absolutely ham in this tournament. That doesn't happen most of the time. It's happened twice in the whole year. Normally, he's a good player, but he doesn't go as crazy every map. So if he's going crazy, Guardian wasn't at his best, but he was still good. You're getting the right map picks. You're even getting close on maps. To me, like, everything was in position for you to win it. And I don't think you can just say, well, we'll play the same and next time we'll tighten it up and we'll win. It probably won't happen next time, I'm afraid. Remember, you had to beat Envious to fucking get here. That's hard enough in itself.
And on top of all that, Guardian didn't really show up too much. I mean, Guardian didn't have a huge impact in these finals as well. So to almost beat them without Guardian showing up, that's not going to happen very often at all. And yeah, it was the fashion they lost those first 2 maps. I mean, this very easily could have been a 3-0 for Na'Vi. It probably should have been, in my opinion. And the fact that it didn't occur, yeah, you want to say it's a good way to end the year, but it's got to be heartbreaking. Because this is a thing where, like, the past 6 months, I feel like Na'Vi is just so up and down, whether they're like a top 3 team or just like, top 8 team. And it's always dependent on who's showing up outside Guardian. And here at this event, they had basically everyone show up at different points throughout the tournament, and they can't win it. They even had multiple people show up outside Guardian in the finals.
in particular, though, right?
Like, no, everyone. Yeah, in particular.
I mean, everyone did, but just to point it out, Flamey had more frags than Olaf Meister across the series. So, I mean, 104 in total. And it's the best I've seen Flamey play for a long time.
He actually also played, to go in those 2 events, Duncan, that you mentioned, is IEM San Jose, the grand finals of that. He had a really, really good grand finals. I don't know if he put up massive frag numbers, partially because they just blew TSM out of the water at that event. Like, they just crushed him. But just, his plays and impacts as an individual were really, really good in that event as well. So he's improving, still really young. That's good to see. I mean, that's probably the only positive you could take out of this, is having your young potential all-star just be a beast throughout a tournament for you at the end of the year. So that was really good for them. But yeah, like you said, just not winning it, can't take too much from that. It's really like you start losing those moral victories when you lose in the fashion.
Yeah, it must have been tough for them. But of course, it's Fnatic that once again find a way to win, even when they're up against it. There's no way they should have been able to come back on Inferno. They did. There was no way that in a way. I mean, I would have thought Na'Vi should have beat them on Dust too. They managed to win, and then sure, it goes the distance when it comes to the crunch map. 16-6 on Cobblestone, a map we know Na'Vi are competitive on, and Fnatic are just looking like we are going to go into this new Fnatic era that I didn't think was possible without Pronax, but the addition of Dennis has clearly been a very good thing. So I guess I got to ask both of you, is Fnatic going to start 2016 the way that they've been pretty much throughout 2015 with 2 different lineups? Are they just going to be dominating? Are Fnatic going to be the #1 team in the world?
They'll start it that way. They're not going to. I don't think they'll keep it throughout the whole year the way they did in 2015. I think there are some real issues watching them. That without Pronax, they're going to struggle through a lot of growing pains. I think Sean put it really, really well at the event as well. He said that Fnatic is taking advantage of teams who are not playing up to their potential, taking advantage of an Envy team that's struggling, that has probably man for man more talent than them, arguably, and maybe change now. Dennis is in there. You can make the argument either way, but against a TQM that just can't get past the semis once again. Against Na'Vi that still hasn't been able to put it together. I mean, they're taking advantage of teams who just aren't reaching their apex of their game.
Yeah, that's the key thing. They're not smashing the event. Like, if they were wrecking everyone completely, I'd say, yeah, they could be the new dominant team. they're edging some of these events. I mean, one in close fashion against NIP, actually lost a series to NIP, which is kind of something the old Fnatic probably wouldn't have done. They had this series here where it was close against Na'Vi. I actually do think that it's mainly, here's the thing, the reason why they will start number one and probably even win a few events is because the other teams aren't going to fix things overnight. But sooner or later, you know this will happen because of how the pro scene works. It's never the case that one team's really good and the rest are all a mess. Eventually, one team out of the following will fix things. TSM will fix things, or Envious will fix things, or maybe we'll even have a brand new team coming to the top team with all the roster changes. And one of these teams will be good enough to either stylistically be a mismatch or just be better than them outright. So at the moment, and by the way, if all of these teams improve even a little bit, it's going to get way harder to win tournaments because you're going to have to play two of them on the way to the final. I still think if Virtus Pro come and they just play their good game, because the thing with Virtus Pro is they've never been broken. They've always been good. They just have to turn up on that day and play well. Virtus Pro could beat this Fnatic, certainly. With the map pool Virtus Pro's got, that could happen right there. They're just not at this tournament.
Just overall, I don't know. I'm trying to think. What teams do we think moving forward into 2016 can have this sort of opportunity to usurp a Fnatic right now? Because that's like 3 events on the bounce now for this new lineup. They weren't really supposed to be doing this well so soon. We all thought there'd be like a settling in period, and you look at the teams that they're beating. They're beating the teams that we feel, in the absence of the old Fnatic lineup, we're going to step up and take the crown.
That's why it's so weird. I mean, these teams like TQM, I mentioned at the beginning, TQM, Na'Vi, they had their chances, and that's the thing. It was just this struggle with closing against Fnatic. There's a lot of maps that Fnatic should have dropped in this tournament, and then just for whatever reason, the other team just starts playing bad. Mental mistakes, not hitting shots, just flat out missing. It's kind of ridiculous. And some of the rounds that Fnatic won in this tournament are like disgusting. Like just make you want to laugh.
If you want to talk about those first maps, Moses, like, okay, so yeah, Inferno Dust 2, Na'Vi definitely should have been able to, like Dust 2 especially, that should have been a possible map to win. Inferno, obviously Fnatic's fantastic on that map, but okay, they're both, like actually that's not usually a Na'Vi map, but they played great on it. The real killer has got to be the Cobblestone game.
Yeah.
That's a map that Na'Vi's supposed to beat Fnatic on. I mean, Fnatic even almost beat them on fucking Train, and Fnatic was terrible on Train. That was one of the most dog shit CT sides I've ever seen. It's like if you watched the mini-map, you would think that the Na'Vi guys had wall hacks. Every time the Fnatic players rotated 4 inside, Na'Vi just went outside and took the site every time for free. It was unreal.
Yeah, it was a really interesting VO3. I mean, it was just kind of cool to watch. And actually, I think it's almost kind of funny because I don't think if these teams played another best of 5 like 2 months from now, I think it would be more of a stomp one way or the other. I just think that it was one of those situations where Na'Vi loves to play slow and Fnatic just like doesn't know quite yet. They don't have a vast experience with each other on certain maps. So you could see they kind of like just transitioned right into that Na'Vi style. They were just like, all right, let's just play it safe. Like, let's just play everything, we don't have all these reads that we used to have with Pronex on here. We don't have this experience playing this map with the old lineup, so let's just take everything very, very slow and just kind of mimic what Na'Vi does. It was a very slow-paced best of 5.
So let's get into the news. Moses, feel free to chip in. I know obviously you're here for your expert analysis and statistical breakdown of plays, but you do have a personality. Feel free to use it. Okay, it's not an ESL broadcast now. You can let yourself off the chain a little bit. I'm running out of jobs. I need to start being nice to them again. So anyway, let's talk about. I mean, I know Duncan was heartbroken with this one. FNS stepping down from CLG, and I gotta say as well, I thought this was weird because when one player goes and 4 stay, that implies to me that he's been kicked, right? But the statement FNS gave was this is what he said to HLTV. I don't want to play this game for financial stability. I want to win, and we were never going to win without 5. And then, bizarrely, I'm planning on taking a bit of a break to see what kind of opportunities present themselves.
You know what, Richard? Yeah. Sometimes that's not someone's being cut. Sometimes a brave soldier dives on a grenade to save his comrades.
Yeah.
So I'd like to salute FNS. Thank you for getting the fuck out of that lineup. You're terrible. Just go play in Conquest or something. Have a great time. Have a holiday. Kick back. Lose a few lands. Actually, you're an okay player, but that was the obvious player that should have been removed. By the way, should have been removed about 3 or 4 months ago. That was the time to make the move when there were free agents available. I don't know who they're going to get at this point in time. That's the question. So
he did have that one good performance in Cluj where bizarrely it coincided with the production just picking him as the player to watch.
Still didn't get out of groups though.
And Duncan smashing him for that. That was
still didn't get out of groups though.
You were actually on the desk for that segment, weren't you?
Still didn't get out of groups.
I don't think I was.
So. Are you sure? I remember laughing about it.
But guys, what color medal?
From lack of sleep.
What type of medal is the medal that you get for not getting out of the group stage? Oh, there isn't. Oh shit! Yeah, never mind.
Maybe we can change that.
All I know is Skadoodle's got 6 of them. NA hope.
Six of them. I'm sure if you put a proposal...
6-time group stage eliminated, Skadoodle!
I'm sure if you put a proposal together for a special group stage participation medal, NA players would bite your hands off. They'd be like, that's a good idea. Making it to the groups is hard, guys.
I mean, Skadoodle has so many wooden spoons. He could be like Edward Scissorhands, but with spoons. He'd Skadoodle spoon hands. That's who he is. Make the Photoshop.
Yeah.
Make the Photoshop.
Yeah, but if you know what Edward Scissorhands is...
Speaking of which, by the way...
Make the Photoshop.
Speaking of which, also make me a little montage of how sad Skadoodle is every time they get eliminated in group stage and use the Edward Scissorhands Danny Elfman music. Oh... Duh. That's him looking sad. Oh, I've been eliminated again. Shit. I don't even have a Dren on my team anymore. Shit. It's just me. It's all me. I'm the only one who's been eliminated except it's all me.
So what do we feel about this, Mose, this FNS step down? I mean, I'm inclined to agree.
Back to FNS.
Yeah, back to FNS. I'm inclined to agree that he was kind of the weakest link in that chain, which, look, to be fair, he changed roles a couple of times in the team, and I can respect that. He was obviously a flexible guy, but it is a bizarre fucking statement when you say, "Hey, we're never going to win with that 5.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make my own team." You taking any of your teammates with you? Nah, just me, mate. What? So the other 4 people were the problem, were they? I mean, that's a level of fucking conceit I don't even think Duncan could get to. What the fuck is that?
Maybe that's what he did, though. Maybe he used to be the in-game leader, okay? Maybe he legitimately did look at the team and go, guys, let me call a meeting. Okay, Hayes, come on in. Molly. All right, Hayes coming in. Okay, Cutler, you're bald, but you used to be really good, but now I've ruined your game by selfishly taking up a shit role. Coming in. JDM, I mean, you literally got a head that looks like a piece of granite, but okay, coming in and all, mate. That's an AWPer's job. You just hit them shots. And then finally welcome in, who even is the last member of that team? Tariq. Oh, yeah. A guy who was famous still for his best performances were when he didn't have a shirt on, so not at LANs. So you bring all the team and you go, listen, guys, I'm the in-game leader. It's my job to look at what's wrong with this team. I've come to a conclusion. This 5 isn't working out. We need to make a change and we need to remove the weak link. And everyone in the team's like, oh, phew, you said it, 5. You're totally right. I've been thinking the same thing. I agree. We should definitely remove the player who isn't working out. And then everyone goes around the team like JDM up now. Give him up. Okay, well, let's leave him out of the conversation maybe. I'll go to the other one. Cutler, what do you think? Yeah, well, it's a hard decision. I love these guys, but I do think we should remove the person who's really bringing the team down. Hayes, what do you think? I'm just actually a jobber who's just here to make up numbers, but I guess I go along with what Cutler says because that's how my payment is made, So, okay, he says it. What do you think, Tariq? Best player in the world. I'm just the best player in the world. Okay, I think Tariq was just saying a positive thing. He's trying to whatever we were saying there. So we're all in agreement, right? We're going to kick out the worst player. Yeah. So the worst player is, I'll cut you off there, FNS, you're out the team. See ya. You can write the script. You can write the statement however you want it. You can say whatever you want. We all agreed. You prompted it, mate. You're out the team. So have a lovely holiday. Have a pina colada. Maybe have sex on the beach. It's the name of a cocktail. And get the fuck out of this room. Smugly needs to come in now. Goodbye.
Moses, anything to add? This is what you're gonna have to be the nice guy again after that, right?
Yeah. You keep telling me to, have a personality, be an asshole, but Thorn just took it all out of the words out of my mouth.
See what happened.
I was gonna do that exact same bit. It was just It's already been taken from me. Yeah, that's the curious thing because, he says, we were never going to win with that 5, and I think everyone in the world just kind of was like, we knew that 5 months ago, 6 months ago. We knew that you guys weren't going to win with that 5. This was a change that even before this was they decided to do this a while ago. They would have decided to do this. I think it was after the iBuyPower and RGN events. They had agreed to make changes, and apparently they had, I'm assuming it was just for the end of the year thing, but they had already decided there were going to be changes, and there's still more to come as far as I know, with the squad. So that's going to be interesting to see how that happens. But yeah, FNS was the logical choice, and it's the tough part about it is Cutler was so good. He was so consistent before he became the endgame leader. And then once he becomes the endgame leader, all of a sudden he's struggling. And then they bring it back to FNS, and he had stepped up his game individually while not endgame leading, and then he starts struggling. So they need to find some way to lead this team without having the letdown and individual performance be so hindered. Like, it's just amazing how the drop-off is with those two players who are trying to end-game lead for this team. And I think moving forward into 2016, they're going to have a really rough start to the year, especially because there are more changes in this roster coming, and I have no idea what they're going to look like. It's going to be a vastly different team.
Yeah. Maybe FNS actually did look at the team and was like, guys, we tried to improve, but I see no changes. And they actually, like, to paraphrase that Tupac song, he was like, I see no changes. Wake up in the morning and ask myself, I'm tired of being poor and even worse, I'm whack. Just like, basically, that's what he... I
thought you were going to go down the blast myself route. I was like, that's a bit dark even for this show, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, it's not. You did a school shooting joke last week, so
I did. Did you hear that, Moses? I don't think Moses saw that. Did you hear my theory I gave? God. I tried. Okay, I'll repeat it very quickly.
Moses. Are you sure?
It was already on video. We've already got it, mate. So basically, because you'll appreciate this. So I was trying to be reasonable. Obviously, on that patch thing, we reckon Valve about the revolver all the time, but it has no place in the game. But then I actually tried to think reasonably. Is there a way that Valve could have been thinking of something positive? And what I realized is because the American media says that all the school shooting people are trained by video games as to how to use the weapons and what to do, that Valve was trying to save the world, because at the moment, kids just go and get like the AR rifle out of the basement and kill everyone. So instead, they were trying to convince kids to get their old grandpa's old rusty revolver and run in, fanning the trigger. And obviously, they'd miss a whole bunch, and we'd save lives. What do you think, Moses? You like that theory? Would you like to co-sign that theory, Moses?
Get the fuck out of here.
That's the biggest trap question ever, right?
Yeah, oh my fucking god!
Yeah, dude, the best thing is just not to get involved with that. I mean, I'm already done. I'm in. I'm locked in. You don't have to come here, Moses. You don't have to be down with us.
I know.
Good. CLG are going to be doing open recruitment. That's the follow-on story from this. So FNS. I mean, again, I would have presumed if it was the way FNS wrote it up, it would have been him doing open recruitment for 4 teammates. It's not. It's his 4 ex-teammates doing open recruitment to replace him. How do we feel about this? Because I've always said in the past, I don't really like open recruitment because it suggests that you don't have a plan. Your management aren't very well versed in knowing what talent's going to fit into where and everything else. So, and I've never liked it for that reason. But actually, if I sit down and critically assess it, it does have a lot of benefits. First of all, you could discover some talent that hasn't had an opportunity before. Second of all, you get an opportunity to see how people are maybe going to work chemistry-wise on a non-committal basis. And you can actually cycle through quite a large group of players in a short amount of time and get feedback from all of the teams.
I've got a reason why I think this is really good.
Yeah.
Only for NA teams. NA teams that have a lot of money, like CLG, Liquid, and Cloud9, if they have a spot open, should do open recruitment. Because here's the thing. All the NA players that we're going to try out anyway, they will know about and they will try out in this process. But what it allows to happen that these NA teams don't know is there might be a good European player right now who isn't happy with where he is, doesn't have a lot of options, and would like to play on a team making a lot more money in NA, who might apply. Or a player might come out and say, I'd like to give it a chance. And so you would have never got in contact with him. So I made a comment recently where I actually criticized NA orgs for passing on Pimp and Alu. Now, that's not a speculation. I literally talked to those players, said, do you want to go to NA? Yes. And started putting them in contact with NA orgs and trying to broker things like, you should really look at this player. He could do a lot for your team. NA orgs were passing on these players. So to me, part of the reason why is they wouldn't even know these players existed.
Can I ask which org passed on Alu? Because I'll freak out.
I mean,
you don't have to reveal it. You don't have to reveal it, but like, good lord.
Well, yeah, come on, Duncan. I always dish dirt on this fucking show.
Well, here's the difference, okay? They all passed on Pimp. I'll tell you that one. But the difference is, on Alu, it's not that they've passed yet. It's that none of them were even reaching out. I had to... I'm not even a fucking manager, you know. I'm just a commentator guy who literally talked to Alu. Do you want to go to NA? I guess I would if they're the right offer. Okay, what type of offers would be acceptable? This team, this team. I then went to those teams. Here's a player that's available. Oh, okay. Yeah, we should probably think about that then. It wasn't even on their mind because, again, people make assumptions like, oh, I guess he would just now want to go and play in Finland. Why would you assume that? Like, no, he wants to play at top level. Like, that's the problem. That's why I say in this scenario, I think it's good. Because if players, like, okay, in the past, here's what would have happened, Moses. Before they made that Kingwin team, half the people in that Kingwin team would have applied for a scenario like this. If you told them a team like Cloud9, Team Liquid will pay you a good salary and you can be a Dennis or a Makalele or a Scream or someone, they would have applied and they would have tried to join these teams. And so if these teams need proven fraggers on LAN, you can get them from Europe right now. I don't know if you can at this moment. You've waited a long time at this point in time, but at least it would have worked in the past, I'm pretty certain.
It's crazy because that was what I was trying to do for Pimp. And again, you know, like we made these connections before he went to SK. But NA teams, as he said in an interview with our favorite esports publication, Aftonbladet, he said that, you know, big brands had actually turned him down. I'm absolutely inclined to believe it because I was working with him on trying to get him a team after he left Dignitas. Because obviously I've known Jacob a long time. But it is insane, isn't it? That it's like, look, we know you've got the money in NA. Why the fuck wouldn't you want to maybe import just one or two, you know, European teams instead of sticking with the tried, tested, and true to fail in NA?
Mate, teams like here's where my criticism now has a context, okay, Moses. So people think I'm being too harsh on players like FNS, and Adren. These guys are still stealing checks from the biggest orgs in the world while people like Pimp can't get on those teams. In what world is there any parity there? Anyone who wants to go, yeah, but Pimp's not even good. Yes, and those other players? What, could you tell me more about how they perform on LAN? Shitters, thought so. Like, Adren is like, mate, he should be the #1 FBI most wanted in CS. This guy has been habitually stealing checks for years now, and yet he's never actually had to show up and do anything on LAN versus Euros. He shows up, gets straight shook, and then just fucking moonwalks off the stage in like 7th place or whatever the fuck in Europe.
Moses?
Yeah, it's... I mean, I'm not going to put it so eloquently, but yeah, like... I wanted Liquid to try out Alu. That was like my big thing. I've been talking to Hiko about it for a while, and I'm glad they are. It just surprised me that it was Fugly that was getting taken off the roster, not Adren. I don't see why that team doesn't just move Adren to coach, because when you watch his YouTube videos, when you listen to him talk about theoretical Counter-Strike, he sounds smart. He sounds like he knows what he's talking about, and he has a lot of experience throughout Counter-Strike. So there's no reason for me to doubt that
current coach.
Yeah, I was going to say, unlike their actual coach.
Yeah,
but
they can upgrade it, coach. That's a good roster move. Having a coach, not a slice of ham, would be a fucking start.
You put Adren into that coaching role, and he didn't get. I think he could thrive in it because for whatever reason, as an in-game leader, he just can't see. He can't. Work the information through his brain when he doesn't have all the knowledge. When he's like watching a demo, he's very smart.
Missing frags in game. He's saying it's taking up too much of my brain getting out up by all these Europeans. Fuck, I really need to concentrate and miss this one. That was close. Well, look, I almost did it.
Here's the thing: if the other argument is that he's the in-game leader and they don't want to drop the in-game leader, GOT-B just opened up.
Mate, what if he actually does that? What if they're like, listen, Adren, we feel like your performance, like, on LAN, I mean, especially on Cash, you've really dropped off a bit. He's like, no, I'm pretty good on Cash. Links them to a video of him doing like a smoke tutorial. Look at that, I'm wicked. I'm all over the place. I know exactly what's going on. No, but in-game stuff, though. Wait a minute. These games have been live? Shit, I thought this was just practice. What?
Meanwhile, I want to see a bit of top NA team break the bank for Kuster at NME, man. Like,
well, why would they do that now? Yeah, I know. I love Kuster. I've loved him for a long time. I would love to see him get picked up, but at the same time, look at that team. They just beat Cloud9 last night.
Yeah, that's 4 in a row, by the way. That's 4 times to beat Cloud9 now in a row.
Yeah, so it's almost at the same time. I'm like torn now. I'm like, I wanted Kusa to get picked up, and that for like a long time, but this team now has just improved. Like these guys were like nobody, even 2 months ago. They were a premier team, and they were getting beaten up a little bit in the professional league, and they were in it for this season. But I mean, now they're beating Cloud9, who they don't have a set fifth, but like still that 4-man roster +1 shouldn't lose to that team. You'd think on paper ever. With all the experience and everything.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
I mean, we thought North American Counter-Strike was a shit show. I mean, just imagine what it is now, right? With Cloud9 missing a player, we got CLG now maybe just getting wrecked in terms of roster. We've got Liquid now losing Fugly and trying to bring in Alu. Who knows if that'll end up working? But I mean, it's just like who knows at the moment.
Yeah, well, let's talk about we'll move on to Alu in a second, but there's a bigger story I wanted to bring up. Semler has got his dream because the player that he's always been kind of hyping up and saying can have these huge performances, Davkost, is joining Team YouPorn. So I'm sure that's fucking great for Semler. That's fucking brilliant. And I even saw that. This is when I know that professional CS has gone fucking it's too wild for me. Get me out of here. So there was a match last night, Team YouPorn versus D's Nuts.
No way.
Like this Polish mixed team. Yeah,
you can't even make that up, can you?
What the fuck is going on when YouPorn's taking on D's Nuts? What the fuck is happening? I love this game. What you doing to it? Come on, stop fucking around, lads. It's fucking ridiculous. But anyway, I did a video about this, and I just want to get your guys' opinion. I said Team YouPorn can never really support a team in the way they want to. There's always going to be problems with sort of morality clauses, and you're never going to be able to have a League of Legends team playing LCS. You're probably never going to be able to have a team compete in a big ESL event. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't be allowed to attend a major even if they were to qualify. And so what I said in my video was they shouldn't sponsor a team. They should put all the money into having one big event like the Team YouPorn Invitational, where they have all porn stars there. And you go, then you opt in, right? Then you opt in and you go and you play. And who the fuck wouldn't want to go to that event? Duncan would fucking love that event.
I'd cast it for free. I'd sign me up.
Exactly, right?
I would love to have just porn stars, like the old boxing girls that would come in with the scorecards in between rounds. What if you just had porn stars just walk across with 1-0?
What if?
Yeah, that'd be great.
What if, man? I mean, Duncan, this is why I want to get your input, because you've talked a lot about how you don't really mind what sponsors come into esports. You said you'd be happy to have a team funded by Blood Diamonds, I believe, is what you said in the past.
I think you should. Put it this way.
No, you didn't say you should. You just said you wouldn't mind.
Jokes aside, some of the companies that are involved in esports now who are sponsors, they have a respectable face, but if you know the way they're doing business, they're probably way worse than people like YouPorn. Yeah. I mean, personally, shocking statement here, guys. I don't particularly find YouPorn a controversial sponsor. Wait, who do you think's watching all the porn? What, is it not any of us? Is it everyone else in the world except us? Oh, no, wait a second, it's not everyone else in the world because they're the people who get offended. Is it just who's watching porn? Muslim immigrants to Norway? I don't think so. Everyone's watching porn. I'm going to watch some after this. Spam all over my fucking screen. My screen will be like Creamy Moses. I don't give a fuck. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing morally wrong. It's what humans do. Secondly, in old cultures, when people got married, they used to literally watch as you fucked to ensure that you consummated the marriage. That was part of the religion. That part of the culture of the society. So I just want us to be a global village and watch people fuck on camera.
So to be clear, you don't have an issue with sponsoring it.
No, I think YouPorn's wicked.
All right.
Personally prefer a bit more of the amateur shit myself, not that into such high-produced shit. I like things that are just guys who've got mad skills and they don't, it's not just about all the show and tell, but, fair enough.
Did I ever tell you about my esports themed porn script that I wrote?
No.
No, so I did one. This is years ago. So I wrote it up, right? And the original was called Clan Bang, obviously back when teams used to be called clans. And it was, pretty cheesy, just basically a bunch of nerds, and they get introduced to some porn actresses, and they're a they just, for some reason, they get to have sex with them. I can't remember the ins and outs. There was some interesting terminology like door bang and things like this, and wall bang, whatever. You understand where that's going. But then I did the sequel, right? You said with the tagline, you said they could only do it online, and Clan Bang's sequel is LAN Bang, where you do it in a live environment with sort of a baying crowd. Yeah. Now I'm just saying, if you porn are interested, we can get a partnership going.
I even know how we can actually tie players into this. So they come along. We have the whole people there, right? Obviously, they're all girls within this movie. So there's a girl, she's called like Fugly. There's a girl called, Elise. She's like a young sort of like half Polish, half American broad. There's this really old fat whore who gets paid incredibly large amount of money called like Hiko the Hut or something. She's there as well. Anyway, there's the whole team's there, is my point. The whole team's there. And then they're like, knock, knock. Who is it at the door? Oh, my God. It's that big studded Dren. He fucks every team he's in. And then he comes in. He's fucking them all. He has a mad sex. But then they go to the LAN. Can he perform on LAN? Shit, he's not getting hard. He attempts to take one of his little pills. Not Adderall, guys. You're allowed this one. Viagra. Little blue pill. Do you take the blue pill? Do you take the red pill? Take the blue pill. You can fuck. Yeah, anyway, you can see where I'm going there. I tied it into the Matrix even, mate. I actually feel bad about the Hiko one. I like Hiko. I probably shouldn't have gone that hard on that one. It was unnecessary, Hiko. It was unnecessary.
That was unnecessary. Man.
The rest of it about them all being porn stars getting fucked and shit, that was acceptable. But I apologize, Hiko, for my egregious comments about you. I just think I was thinking Star Wars.
Right, so congrats Stavkost on the move to YouPorn. Bringing it back down to earth, speaking of Hiko, as we've alluded to at several points during the show, the player that about, 2 weeks ago I said was dead weight. I mean, given that Adren obviously has to stay in because he's the in-game leader, the dead weight in the team would be Fugly. Well, Team Liquid appear to have been listening and have made that change, and now Arlu's going to be trying out. And I should say, it's not Team Liquid trying out Arlu, if you ask me. It's Arlu trying out Team Liquid, because obviously I feel Arlu's could walk into any NA team, really, and certainly several top European teams. But it's definitely a step in the right direction. I think it's going to give them more firepower. It's just interesting, what are they going to do in terms of AWPing? So Moses, without referencing porn or Star Wars, or indeed Star Wars porn, how do you think it's going to measure up?
It's pretty tough task right there, right? How is he supposed to reference it? What language would he use?
You guys have already got me on the edge right now. Like,
yeah. Well, that's what
edging is another thing that's good with porn. You get to watch more porn. You just stay there riding that edge.
Google it, kids.
Jesus Christ.
So so how do you think this one's going?
It's I love this. I just, once again, it comes down to the fact that, it was funny seeing Mo with Liquid at the Pro League LAN, because it was the first time we've seen this team ever have like a dedicated opper who can just dominate the game through stretches. And I actually thought Mo obviously did really well, and I thought it added. I mean, they played Envy in the first round, which was tough, especially with the Ringer. But despite that, I thought there were some cool ideas that could have opened up if they have like that consistent opper. So I hope this works out. The question still remains, though. I mean, yeah, that's the big thing. Is it's next up is a Dren, and this team could be like a huge contender. They have to improve in skill. I mean, you see every team across the world just flat out improving in skill, and two things have to happen. If Alu joins, two more things have to happen. They need to upgrade at a Dren's position, and they need Elige to just be consistent. They need him to show up at events like consistently. Even at the Pro League, he had some shaky maps and he had some really good maps. That can't happen anymore. That has to change. So it's a step in the right direction, yeah. Sorry.
How do you think it's going to measure up here? Because surely you've got to give the player that's coming in all the tools to succeed, especially given, they're saying, oh, well, if a player of Arlu's caliber became available, we had to reevaluate the roster to try and fit him in. Well, you got to give him an AWP then, and obviously on some maps that means the Dren's going to be having to go to Rifle, which is going to weaken already the weakest player in the team.
So here's the problem. If you're going to remove the real weakest team player, it has to be a Dren. Like, for a start off, when people say, yeah, but he's the in-game leader, come on, mate. They didn't have sick in-game leading and amazing strats and great calls. That's not something you're losing very much of there. I'll take the chance on that. Meanwhile, obviously the fragging wasn't good. Now it's true in terms of who's been performing poorly recently. It's true, Fogley's been performing quite poorly. Ever since they got the lineup with Hiko, he dropped off. He used to be one of their best players. When Nitro couldn't perform, he would have the impact kills. Problem is, his role's gone. Like in the past, I would have said, because Elige hadn't performed on LAN, okay, I'm sick of the Elige guys. Let's stop waiting for his attack. I know Fogley's got it now. Let's put Fogley in that position. But actually, you see, when Liquid are at their best is when Elige is doing really well entrying, and that activates Nitro to go mental. That's when he goes absolutely ham. So at the moment, I feel like Elige is necessary to activate Nitro. So of the players left, I'm fine with them removing Fogley. But that comes with the caveat that down the line, we are eventually going to remove Adren anyway. As in, we're going to bring in Alu now, so we've got a bunch of good players, we're going to show that we're really good, get to another level, then we're going to remove Adren. So they might not think that, but I think it should be a step-by-step process to get there eventually. And I think Alu's a perfect player to bring in, because the key thing is, Nitro's playing really well at the moment, having great performances. Hiko's stable. Elijah has like up and down, but he has some good games. If you have Alu in the team, he's going to be stable and he's going to be a good AWPer. People don't give credit to how good an AWPer he is. Like, especially one thing I noticed that he's very good at. His like medium to close range AWPing is unreal. He is money to hit those shots if you come out on him. And whereas most AWPers, they're just long range players. So I think if they put him in the right spots, especially against the NA opposition, he's going to be amazing. Against European opposition, he should be like really stable. And then when people like Nitro have performances like they did on Cash against Fnatic, or against Envious, was it? Let me think. No, it's Fnatic. Then they will just outright win that map. They won't be losing in narrow fashion.
I can't believe they lost that map. That was unbelievable. That was like one of the more depressing matches I've watched in North America recently. That was like a kick in the dick.
Yeah, but the good part about it was that was like Nitro's been putting on these performances with a decent consistency, and that was a real legit like star performance. Yeah. Like everyone who's been like, no, Tariq can be really good. He's never done shit like that, mate. This guy's been doing that like every tournament. He has a map like that at the moment. He's getting to a really good level. Shroud doesn't do that. Your beloved Shroud, who I watch on the stream and go, wow, what a sick aim. He should be the best player in the world. Oh, wait. Yeah, he's just an okay player on LAN. Nitro's the real deal, mate, especially because now he has the team around him, putting him in this position where he's in the carry position. He's doing it.
Yeah, Nitro to me is one of the most is obviously the best up and coming North American. It's weird to put him in that up and coming because he's been there for a year or so, but I mean he's just one of the best players to watch play when he's got it going. But that's the thing. He's like him and Elige are kind of like this duo where like they play to each other's level. If they both come into a match cold, they struggle. And that's what kind of scares me just about Nitro right now is that him and Elige just seem to, on maps that aren't Cash, they seem to rely very much on each other's success. Like Nitro, you put him on Cash, he can do whatever he wants. But, on other maps when they're entering, if they both come in and they're both hitting their shots, that just turns into a scary combo. But if they come in cold, it's kind of, it falls flat at times. The funny thing about that team is their made superstar is like on paper is Hiko, and that team is succeeding when Hiko is doing shit. Like when Hiko is doing absolutely nothing, when he's sitting down at like 7-8 frags, that's when you're like, all right, this team, as long as they're winning in the rounds, but that's when this team is geared perfectly, and that's when everything's going well for them. And I can't think of another team that's really like that, to be honest with you. It's kind of a really old school way to gear a team.
Speaking of NA, we had a video doing the rounds, which is by our obviously friend still in NIP, Get Right, who confirmed rumors that obviously we had talked about extensively on the show at the time that they happened, and that was that he was considering a move to Cloud9. I think amongst people in the scene, I don't think it was a big secret. He certainly was meant to, it was very close to being a done deal, as he admits himself. And naturally, we went through the usual ups and downs. Richard Lewis doesn't know what he's talking about. Get Right would never leave NIP. Why the fuck would he go and play in America for? Haha, you fucking retards don't know what you're talking about. The usual stuff every time we bring things like that up on the show. But it's one of those moves that I got to think now with the way that everything's kind of up in the air and Sean Gers has moved to that sort of coaching role and everything else. I mean, do you feel like Cloud9 are going to be kicking themselves that they couldn't make this happen?
I would be. Unless, well, here's the thing. I don't think he makes this move without Sean, and if he had known that Sean was going to retire, I don't think he would have made the move. I mean, he mentions in the video that they're good friends, and that a lot was dependent on, or a lot came from their talks and their chats and everything. And it's well known in the past when Sean's tried to retire, Getright's always the one to kind of prop him up and kind of cheer him up. That team.
Yeah, it should be clear. That was the original plan, that he was going to move to coach if Getright went in, and that was going to be the move. And obviously now he's kind of just in retirement and weighing up his options. So yeah.
Yeah, that team is just I don't think anyone from Europe makes that move on a tier 1 level. I don't think Getright makes that move anymore without Sean there. I think there's just too many question marks going forward with Nothing being the in-game leader. With all the performance issues, Shroud and Skadoodle haven't looked like the dominant forces they were for a good stretch of the summer. So I don't think anyone that'd be a great opportunity for someone like Pimp, someone like a tier 2 European player who like doesn't get those chances in Europe. But for a tier 1 player to make that move, that's a big gamble, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he would have been loving it though. He would have been wrecking NA.
Listen, if Sean stays as coach and he makes that move, and this is a done deal as of like a month ago, all for it. I think that's awesome. I think that is a sick move. And even if you can build on that, I think the only way it happens now, I don't know why this isn't, and maybe you guys have more knowledge of why this isn't in the discussion point at all. I know there's kind of this rumor about him making a team, is Pronax. Why have we not heard of like Pronax going anywhere to coach or Pronax going anywhere to in-game lead?
Well, we talked about this last week, where it was like, there was obvious
the talk. Squad.
Yeah, I mean, there's two schools of thought that Pronax might be slotting into a team as an in-game leader, and the other option is that he's building a team with sort of the Swedish outcasts, guys like Twist and Devilwalk, names that have been talked about, but nothing's clear at this time. I mean, I'm pretty sure Pronax was approached by some NA teams as well, maybe not top tier ones that already had their in-game leaders cemented, but I'm pretty sure NA. He was very much on the NA radar for a few organizations.
Here's a move for you. Are you ready? You ready, Moses?
Hit me with it, baby.
Break the bank. You bring in Alu and Pronax, and you kick out Fugly and Adren.
Yeah, I'm sold.
That's a pretty sick lineup, right? That has all the potential to do a lot right there.
Yeah. I like it. I like it a lot. I'd like it even if God B was the coach instead of Pronax. Like anyone, just get anyone there. That team has no leadership to it right now. It really doesn't. It's kind of like it's crazy. It's crazy how that works. But I don't have faith in the leadership behind that lineup at the moment. So yeah, bring Pronax, bring God B, give us all your little castaways.
Me is this bullshit narrative that there's no point bringing tier 2 European players over and in-game leaders because when Devilwalk went to Numerosity, right? First things first, Devilwalk wasn't an in-game leader. So let's stop saying that as though that was true. Yeah. He was never the in-game leader. Not only that, he wasn't a tier 2 player. He was a tier 3 player who happened to play in a tier 1 team at one point in his career. And by the way, leaving that tier 1 team is what made them the best team of all time. So again, he was never a good player. He was never an in-game leader. The fact that he was able to get that role in NA is how much they were scraping the barrel. If you took in someone like a God B, or you took in even an MSL type character, they would turn some of these NA teams around. They wouldn't have these 5 lands where they accomplish nothing and have no set style and have 2 maps they can play. That would be over.
I mean, just to defend Devilwalk a little bit, I'm not even disputing what you're saying, but I mean, it wasn't even like, even if, he didn't have the best tools to work.
No, he was also in a terrible team as well. He was in a team that
and the Winterfox organization is a clusterfuck at the best of times.
But my point is, you can't make out as though that's proven that isn't a good approach. It would still be a good approach. It's just that it was already awkward slotting him in as an in-game leader anyway.
Here's what's interesting to me, and this kind of scares me a little bit, is if we get these European coaches, European in-game leaders, I get the sense that some of them are going to get over here onto these teams and just, spend a week or two with the North American teams and just be like, what the fuck have I gotten myself into?
Yeah.
I mean, we brought it up on ESL, ESEA at the Pro League this past week when CLG got eliminated. Yeah, when CLG got eliminated, it was Semler who, Fifth Flare always has a lot to say, but even Semler pointed out, had production put the camera on PETA, who was just still sitting at the tournament computers, just looking down at his phone, just not with the team. I mean, and that's a team, like I mentioned, they were in upheaval. They'd already decided to make roster changes, but all these Europeans that I've talked to that listen to European comps of Flair and like FPL and everything, and whenever he listens into like VODs, it's just like what the hell is going on in these lineups? And I think coaches from Europe are just going to come here and be like, well, this all makes sense. This all makes complete sense, because not only are comms shit, but because of the comms being shit, shitty decisions are made. Like everything is just shit. And I think they're going to have a freaking heart attack.
Yeah, but I mean, look, we've all been watching, and we talked a little bit about this last week. We've all been watching the Face It Pro League. We all know how NA communication works, and we all know how interactivity works. It's with NA teams. It's not it wouldn't fucking fly in European teams. And you basically, when European teams are malfunctioning, if you listen to them in game, they're communicating like NA. They're behaving like NA. That's like usually a bad sign for us. So I've always said, like, there's parts of the NA gameplay style that I really, really like and think, that kind of bravado, they're more likely to go off a spawn pick. They're more likely to do something erratic and push through a smoke, something really unpredictable. I like all of those things, I think we could do more of that instead of being a bit more reserved or conservative or whatever you might want to call it in EU. But seriously, when it comes to like tactical dissemination, in-game communication, NA's been behind EU for so fucking long, it's terrifying. And the idea that you couldn't take, even just an EU player who'd never been an in-game leader before, you could take him to NA and make him an in-game leader, and it would definitely improve the players that were under his stewardship. There's just no doubt about this. And it's been the case in Counter-Strike for so fucking long. So I don't understand why NA is so resistant to that change. Like, they've got to look at their own scene, and they've got to look at the results and the underperformances. And other than that Cloud9 run, that where they made those 3 finals in a row, there hasn't really been much reason to wave that flag that they like to wave so much. So they've got to realize that if you want to improve, maybe take something from a scene where we are producing consistently dominant teams.
The problem is the NA team never gets to that position. They never get to that conclusion. I'll tell you what every NA team does when they lose a big international LAN. Oh, well, we did play like 2 LANs coming into this. And, you know what? Actually, it was in Europe. So I was like, we were kind of jet lagged from the first 2 days. And you know what? Actually, we did do well on the first map. We got 12 rounds, but then we kind of threw a few rounds. If we did just won that second pistol round, and you know what? They picked Dust too. We thought it was going to be Inferno. They just reel off a million excuses that never get to why they actually lost. Like the tactics they did wrong, the player that played it incorrectly, and what they're going to do to fix it. There's never an answer. The answer to fixing it and to those excuses is always like, hopefully better next time. That's it. It's just like, let's rerun the same thing again for the 8th LAN in a row.
Yeah, I mean, there's what is it? It's like the first step to improving is admitting you have a problem, and that's why there's.
Well, that's alcoholism, Moses. Which
it works with everything. I mean,
I know nothing
that's
about
the thing. If there's not these excuses, like, we need to get the excuses just gone. Like, they need to just get tossed out the window. Because if you go into a match, and the only person I've really seen on a North American team not give excuses and actually critically analyze himself and his own team is Sean. So with his departure, like, we were in some trouble. There's no leaders. There's no leaders here anymore. We've got Fallen, and look what his team's doing.
Well, here we are, man. Like I said, Fallen, at DreamHack Winter, I said Fallen's got to be considered one of the great in-game leaders. Like, he's got everything. He's running tactics. He's making tough decisions. On top of that, he's the guy that's even going out and getting like fucking sponsorships and has basically created a scene out of absolutely nothing. Like, just a fucking group of crooks looking to just fucking, either privately fund something and it's all a bit dubious and shadowy, or it's absolute bullshit and artifice. And
what's great is
cut through all of that.
That's another example of Fallen in the Illuminosity team of where NA has no excuse. Because again, they would claim, well, the reason why we haven't got up to the European metagame is, we don't have the same level of professionalism or the same level of players when being to LANs. Neither does his scene, and yet his team, here's a statement for you here, Rich. Luminosity, at least the old one, and to a degree the new one, they still have it in some element, play advantageous situations better than Envious and Fnatic do. If they're in a 5v3, they close it out to a ridiculous level of efficiency. Envious and Fnatic don't. They gamble, they take crazy peeks. Someone goes and tries to just kill the guy with a man headshot. They give up spots where they had it, 2 men covering in a crossfire, take 1v1s. Even the best teams in the world, some of the Europeans, don't play this well. So the Luminosity team's actually ahead of some of the best European teams in that sense. NA teams are a million miles behind Luminosity in that sense. Like, Sean Gares made a comment along these lines of like, what a great job Fallen's doing. And I said, like, they, in terms of watching them, in terms of like the aesthetic enjoyment of watching them tactically, they're probably the most fun team to watch in terms of like, they almost waste nothing in a game. It's so efficient, it's unreal. And yet the NA teams are an absolute night and day compared to that. They have nothing in that respect. They can lose a million 5v3s.
Yeah, and I mean, Liquid often does. They, in fact, have seen them lose multiple 5-on-1s. Against
I love that, you know, Moses, when someone's like, yeah, but come on, man, that, like, you know, we could have won. We lost like those 2 5v3s. Sounds like you suck dick, mate. You're not supposed to lose 5v3s. That's what a terrible team would do. So, which is it? Do you suck dick? You're just terrible at the game? Are you just a pussy? Can't you play the game? You know, another thing as well, Moses, I'll bring this up as well. So here's something I got to say, okay? One of the reasons why I've always gone super harsh on people like Device is because here's one thing. If you're someone who sucks and you're just delusional that you're good on LAN, okay, I don't have a lot of time for you and I just won't even address you. I'll just be like, you're terrible. But the real people who it's hard to have a lot of sympathy for are the guys like a Device or people like Elige and Kirby, guys who've had periods in their time where they're like, no, I'm really good. I'm really good online. I'm good in some games, but in the big game, I just get a bit scared. It's like, really? Well, fuck me. What a first world problem you have. Oh, I'm really sick at computer games. Oh, what's wrong then? I'm just a bit afraid to be as good as I could be. I'm getting a bit nervous because I know how amazing I am, but I can't quite be that good in a fucking video game that I get paid money for if I win. Well, oh, cry me a river. Oh, it's so terrible. Why? Why, God? Why? Why do bad things happen to good people? Who gives a fuck? Get out my face and let some people who can actually play with some balls on LAN. You guys need to be checked when you come in the room, fucking how much estrogen's pumping through your heart, son.
True story.
Just a rant.
Hey, it's all right. Well, look, I'm going to start speeding it up, but there is like so much happened this week. So I know we've all got shit to do, but hopefully you'll bear with me a little bit longer because there is 3 more stories, and then we'll end on a deluge of salt, which this is Doran's strong point. So this wasn't a surprise to me. I talked to Henry G this morning. We were both up bright and early with our respective jobs, and we were having a chat and a cup of tea. And he said that the Easy Skins team had gone to shit. Who foresaw a UK team collapsing due to constant roster changes and bickering? And
you said Henry gone to shit. Gone.
Isn't
that the start?
Well,
point?
I mean, it's gone to his. If it was a solid hearty shit with bits in it, it's now just a runny horrible liquid shit that's dribbling through the floorboards because they've actually disbanded. Yeah. So that there is no Easy Skins team anymore.
Another tragedy.
Yeah, so UK once again isn't going to be represented in CSGO. Obviously, we used to be a dominant force in CSS, and Henry gave some fairly. I mean, it's. I've read suicide notes that weren't as depressing as this statement. Like the opening line is, this is from Henry G. Well, I know what you're all thinking. How grimly predictable. I mean, that is a fucking suicide note right there, isn't it?
Christ.
Wasn't that like the opening letter of Kurt Cobain's suicide note?
You know what's funny about Henry is you get at that Fragment Masters, he talked about how he's had the last 2 Christmases alone. And then he goes to the after party and he tweets out, I'm going back to the hotel room to listen to emo music by myself. And it was like, holy shit.
I'm watching that fucker. Well, no, actually, the good news here is, Jace, I said, like, he's going to come and stay with me for a bit to get away from it all. Like, when he sees how I'm living, it will make him feel loads better. So I'll just be like,
unfortunately, maybe you guys know him better than me. If Henry C says, I'm just going back to the hotel to listen to emo music, I'd be like, so normal night in then, yeah. Just normal night, yeah.
Yeah, literally a normal night in. Like he lives in a hotel like Alan Partridge or something. It just,
I do feel bad though for Henry though, just because
he wasted a fortune on that project. That's like 5 months of salarying UK players.
Yeah, and when I talked to him, he was like, that was the entire reasoning for creating this site was to prop up the UK scene. I mean, obviously the money making is in there as well. But
he is making mad squirrel.
Yeah. He did want to support a UK team. He did want to see if he could get them back up. And you saw that video, you guys were at the event, I think, of when his team was at Renegades, where how hyped he got. So, I mean, you could just see he poured a lot of, as cliche as the blood, sweat, and tears.
Highest viewed video on my YouTube channel, despite all this great content I pump out. Henry G prancing around like a fucking retard is the number one. Brilliant. Thanks, fans. Fuck you. You don't know what's good.
Cut to the end. as sponges there. Why don't people think we're a threat, man? Why are people talking shit on us? We just lost to a team with the fucking icon of some dice. Brilliant. Unreal, isn't it? How could that even be real life?
But I mean, I don't know what's going to happen now. Like, I mean, because there is no doubt that was pretty much the best roster you could have made with what was left in the UK team, UK scene rather. And I just don't think that there's going to be. I mean, like Henry does say, like, oh, if you want us to pick you up and support you, email me. But like, if you can't make that team work in the UK, there's never going to be a lineup that's going to work and compete.
To be fair, though, even though we all like Henry, like he's a good guy, and obviously this has been a venture that's cost him money, and maybe I don't know if it's got him that much return because he's only going to play a few online tournaments in maybe like a couple of UK lands. But with that said, don't feel too sad for him because let's face it, it's not like he actually paid out of his own pocket or some real sponsor budget. He just essentially skimmed off some money that he was wrecking from little fools betting like AKs with ridiculous odds. So essentially, it was a tax on the stupid. So it was funded by morons. So not Henry, though, just real
in a lot of ways. Yeah. By morons and for morons.
Exactly. So that's where that money should go.
Yeah. So it's not. It wasn't a big surprise. Here's the other thing. I'm getting told to talk about Optic. I don't know why, because it's very clear what's been going on. If you've
Look at my bank balance, bitch.
Look at my bank account. So anyway. Right, the thing with Optic is, and I'm loath to fucking bring it up because every time we talk about anything that's speculation, it always goes the same way. Ha ha! Richard Lewis said this, and he is a liar. So brilliant! I got that to look forward to. But people asked, so okay. Basically, what's going on, and this has now been confirmed by Optic on their subreddit, I believe. They were in talks with TSM. They did put a proposal forward, and TSM. For whatever reason, have decided not to go with that. I believe Hector said that they'd pretty much agreed to all of what TSM's requests, and still TSM obviously feel that their future would be better elsewhere. Few people have tried to imply that it's because they didn't want to be part of an NA organization. Don't think there's any truth in that. Don't think that would really matter too much to anybody, especially if the money's right and the support infrastructure's right, which it would definitely be with Optic. But the one thing we can safely say at this juncture, unless there's some insane cataclysmic turnaround, and as we saw with Get Right, that can definitely happen, but Optic so far and TSM is not going to happen. It's not going to be Optic, people. So anyone still speculating and thinking that it's going to be Optic, it's been confirmed publicly that it's not by Optic.
Actually, I mean, I don't really care. I've talked to the guys. I've talked to Frederick. I think they're smart guys. They've talked to me a little bit about what they want to do and what to have going forward, and I think they have a good idea, a good sense of what they're looking for as players, as a team. And if they didn't find it there, then whatever. I trust those guys to make whatever decision is best for them, because I think when they talk the business side of it, it all seems reasonably like all good plans from them.
So that's that out of the way. Now, we were talking about things that were predictable. Here's something that was really fucking predictable. Gaming Paradise there was a statement released by G2 Esports saying that they've talked to the Gaming Paradise organization, and which of course is the event they won back when they were still Kingwin, and Gaming Paradise have said that they're not going to pay out the prize money, that they're unable to do it. They don't have any assets or any liquidity whatsoever, so no one's going to get paid from that event, which is pretty much a par for the course. Now, where it gets interesting is, it might even be 2 months ago now, I interviewed the organizer of Gaming Paradise, and he was telling me how he had a plan to make sure everyone get paid and stuff. I've just wrote that article up for Breitbart. I am going to publish that very soon. So it'll be interesting with this new development, because you're going to be able to match up the bullshit to the reality. So I'm really looking forward to see how that one fucking pans out. But I mean, we're not surprised. And here's the worst thing. In that interview, he said, you'll love this, Duncan. He said, I'm the type of guy who would rather try and fail than not try at all. As if that sort of excuses a spectacular failure on this level, where he's getting sued by the production team because they didn't even get paid.
That logic doesn't work when you're talking about rape, Rich. See, it's not ironclad. That's my point. It sounds cool on paper, but doesn't apply in all areas of life. Some things you shouldn't try, even if you're going to fail.
Yeah, definitely right. I mean, you could have gone with burglary.
Much as in that,
you could have gone with burglary.
It's a type of burglary, people's dignity. But in that sort of a scenario, though, much like that, I'm also glad he failed, just as he would have in the analogy. Because what would have happened if he'd succeeded?
Well, exactly. Well, here's the bad news.
Is this show edgy enough for you?
I know, it's gone fucking wild today, man. So
it's Moses. His toxicity just brings it out of me. Like, he's such a bad influence on me now.
That shiny ass.
I actually didn't have many opinions on Eastern Europe, but I got into contact with Moses about like February of 2014, and he started telling me like, about what they're doing in the football stadiums. I was like, tell me more, Moses. What do you think? And I trusted him. And he said, listen, just be true to yourself, be yourself, and just say the way you feel. So I did. And, well, at least I don't have work ESL events anymore. We get pies thrown in my face. So it wasn't that bad, actually. Thanks, Moses.
It's worked all right. But here's the worst part.
Come to the dark side, boys. We have force choke.
The guy, I got that too. The guy from Gaming Paradise says that he might run another event in future. So I'm certainly hoping at least this is going to be the one time the scene's going to have some fucking common sense. And when that Gaming Paradise 2 gets fucking announced, right, people are going to boycott it and not go. Like, if anyone attends that event, someone should just fucking clip them, just back of the head, fuck them. Because literally, how else are you going to fucking drive these people out the industry if you're going to go and give them fucking money every time?
But remember, Rich, why are you guys complaining? We are chilling by the pool. Yeah, you paid for all that yourself, moron. You didn't get any prize money. Good job there, Eastern Europeans. I'm a pro gamer, but I don't have to play. I'm at the pool. You're allowed to use your own money and go on holiday. Are you aware of that, Na'Vi and Virtus Pro players? You can choose wherever you want in the world to go on holiday. You don't have to get a free trip there for an esports event that doesn't go well and spend one day in like a beer garden. You can actually just go on holiday to like Cyprus, spend as much time as you want, Bjarly. You can have a cool time. It doesn't matter. There's nothing cool about events going to shit.
That almost could have been it's amazing to think that could have been a bigger disaster, because that was...
How could that have been a bigger disaster?
That was right before ESL Cologne.
No, Dubai. It was Dubai.
Was it Dubai?
Yeah.
Okay, it was Dubai.
And Titan, I think,
once they had all their passports taken, it's like, how are you going to get to the next event?
Yeah. I mean, it definitely could have gone far. I mean, that's the terrifying thing. It's the shittest CSGO event of all time, and it could have been worse.
And the best name ever for a shit CS event.
Obviously. Yeah, I know. Man.
Gaming Paradise.
But what was it on the Mouse Sports website? Gaming Paradise or Slovenian Hell? That was fucking brilliant.
Here's the thing, Rich. Some like naive, young, shit esports journalist, if he does do another event, will be like, Paradise Lost, Paradise Regained. That'll be like the headline title.
You just want to see think an esports journalist is going to reference John fucking Mills.
Anything about that. You don't know anything about what I'm talking about right now. You don't know shit about that, you Twitch plebs.
So,
you got to keep them in their place, you know.
Yeah, man, you got to.
Don't ever let the audience when they've got to your level. They're not at your level. That's why they're down ants looking up at you like a god form, just majestically prancing around in this universe.
I believe in what the great G.G. Allen used to say. And for those who don't know who G.G. Allen is, he used to be in a band called the Murder Junkies. You should check him out. A very good stage performer, was arrested several times for self-sodomy with vegetables and God knows what else. But anyway, he had a great phrase, and it was just that the audience is my enemy, which that's how you roll, baby. G.G. Allen. Anyway, the death of the in-game leader continues. It's an interesting phenomenon right now. Mouse Sports have officially announced that Godby is out of the lineup. He hasn't moved to coach. He hasn't moved to sub. He's just out, gone. And apparently this was predicated on a coup that the rest of the team were just like, we don't want to play with him anymore.
They didn't.
So Spiddy is back, and I don't know what that means for Godby, whether we'll see him again or not. One of the great in-game leaders in Counter-Strike history. You know, sure, he wasn't a mad fragger, but I mean, I don't know. It feels like super fucking drastic to me. And one of the things we always said with the arrival of this Mouse Sports team when they burst on the scene was it was predicated on tactics. They were a tactically solid team. That was what was getting them results to begin with. Yes, they've also underachieved, no doubt about it. But that's, for me, has been based on firepower, not tactics. So I think this is a bit of a gamble. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it is a bit of a gamble, and like just to bring some North American football into it, it's like the quarterback is always the one who's got the target on his back, much the same way the in-game leaders do. Yep. So yeah, I think they have a lot of firepower. They have with Nex and Nico, and those guys just don't. I don't like it is a firepower issue because when they don't bring it at a game, in a match, they struggle. Like any tactic is going to struggle when you don't bring it in. But that in-game leader is always going to be the first one gone because those star players, they always want to be able to do whatever they want. They want to be unrestricted. And when you have players with that much individual skill, it's hard not to cater to them in Counter-Strike right now because they're just few and far between. So you almost do have to, and it's a little bit of a bummer. And I also think that the success of G2, who have done it largely without an in-game leader, that's also started to spur this forward. I also think the winning nature of Fnatic and Envy, like you don't need tactics as much as you used to. It's not like a life or death situation anymore. So I think that's going to start. More teams are going to go this way. It's just the way it is. That's why coaches are going to start being, the new in-game leaders. They're going to start being the more tactical minds, and it's a little bit of a bummer, but I think Gabil is going to be fine in the end. I think someone's going to pick him up, whether it's a tier 2 team, to try and make it up to the top.
I mean,
NA coach. There we go. There's another name.
Well, I mentioned Liquid, there's somebody that needs to go to NA.
CLG has the open recruitment. Tell him to send in his resume, his name, his matchmaking rank.
I wouldn't wish that on Godby, man. Fatty's a fucking cool guy. It's like you say. All right.
His name literally is Fatty, by the way, just in case anyone thinks Richard's being edgy right now.
It's not some affectionate, playful, insulting nickname I have for him. That is his name. But if he went to NA, it would drive him fucking wild. If he can't get disciplined Germans to fucking fully follow a system and it be successful,
this might get me deported.
Hell. And he'd get wrecked every airport.
I mean, the Germans are supposed to be pretty good at following orders.
I thought my airport joke was edgy. You upped it. I'm talking about North American prejudice towards some of our brothers in the Middle East. You go to fucking Nazism. Brilliant. you can't let me have one. You can't let me be the edgy one for 5 minutes, can you? It's unreal. But anyway, Duncan, give me some thoughts about this.
I mean, listen, if it's a fragging issue, it's true that team did have some issues in terms of fragging, mainly because here's the weird thing. Ever since they got Nico into the team, Nex and Nico never turn up at the same time. I don't know what it is. Maybe some like sort of role issue. I'd have to look more in depth at what they changed bringing Nico in. But somehow Nex and Nico almost take turns to go ham. So actually the firepower didn't really work out in that sense. They just still have 1 star most of the game. Chris J is pretty decent. The problem they have for me is, it's true, in terms of firepower, Godby was terrible. He was a really bad player. By the way, every NA fan who's like, I actually think Sean Gares is very good. Sean Gares has the exact same land stats as Godby. As in, I think one of the stats is 0.01 off. He has the same offline stats as Godby, and Godby plays more European competition. So they're not good fraggers. But the problem is, just like with Cloud9, bringing in a fragger, I don't think is the solution there. If you bring in a fragger, that probably suggests your fraggers aren't doing well enough to justify it. Because just as Sean Gares was integral to how Cloud9 worked, to me, Godby was Mouse Sports. His entire style defined what made Mouse Sports good, and I don't understand the logic of like, well, since AZ has gone into G2, and since Fnatic got Dennis, and since Envious has all fraggers, let's get mad fraggers. What, so you can be a worse version of those teams? Because you're not going to compete with your lineup just fragging. Your upside, if you are a Na'Vi, if you're a Mouse Sports, if you're a Luminosity, should be the tactical side. That's where you've got to go. That's your chance to beat them, is by countering them stylistically. And Mouse Sports had that at certain points in the past. They got to the final of that Sevo LAN. That was still pretty decent, good result. I admit, I don't know where they were going. Like the lineup had some issues with it. I'm not sure what they could fix there, but I don't see this as the fix, because the key thing is he's not moving to coach. Apparently, they're using Capio as their coach, who's an old Mouse Sports player, and Godby's just leaving the organization entirely. So to me, it's a net loss. I don't see this as a good move.
Right. Salt time. Let's do it. Are you ready, Moses? Because I want salt from you too here, brother. Right? Because
Why do you want salt from me?
You're gonna see. So obviously, I wouldn't say Gosu gamers are particularly known for their CS:GO coverage, but they're also coverage in general. They're a Dota 2 site. Obviously, they've stepped it up recently, and they've got some nice features on their website and stuff. And they've announced their Gosu Awards for CS:GO 2015. Now, I gotta say, boys, I'm super happy to be nominated for an award. You guys obviously aren't. You're nowhere to be seen. Although it does mention Thorin in the article. Like if you Control F Thorin, it does mention you actually under the best casting duo, where it says Henry G did the best Thorin impression of this year. No other mention of you, Duncan. You've done nothing else for CS:GO. You're not nominated as a personality. You're not nominated in any other category whatsoever.
I mean, I will notice they literally have a category called Personality of the Year. So let's click on it. Personality of the Year. So first person, Anders Bloom. Okay, fair enough. He is sort of a personality. I mean, I'd call him a caster, so I'm not sure why casters are in there. But I guess Anders has a cool personality. Everyone likes him. Fair enough. Olofmeister, right? In what way is Olofmeister a personality? Yes, Swedish people have no personality, so he seems like he has sort of a personality because he laughs at Pasha's jokes on his stream. Brilliant. That's a great personality right there. Then we go down. Parla Mantrus Gilroy Sen. The most extravagant aspect of this guy's personality is his name, where I don't know that any of those are in fact names. Those are all just like random words, none of which would apply as a name and all sound like a nickname for someone. As a personality, he just does a few interviews at like 3 events and then most of the time asks people stuff like, so didn't you just 16-0 someone? No, we didn't. Then tell me what you did do. Okay, brilliant personality.
The reason he's there is it says Mantrus graces the scene with his funny and goofy personality, bringing some light casual banter to the esports scene. So apparently banter's a good thing.
Oh, I see how it is. So now they're nominating him for banter.
Yeah.
You want to go to Wargoso Gamers? As soon as you get relevant, I'll kill you, mate. Soon as you guys get relevant, I'll kill you dead. That might be 10 years. I'll wait. I mean, I won't be doing anything. You guys can keep toiling in obscurity, but this is your 5 minutes of fame. Okay, next name, Jordan Nothing Gilbert. I mean, that one's legit. He has good personality. I won't even go in on that one. He's obviously a great stream personality. He's obviously great in interviews. He's a really legit one. Him and Anders, good ones so far. Jaroslav Pasha Biceps Jabrowski. I don't know how you say that name. Okay, on one level, yes, he's a good personality. Actually, this one's not that bad. This one's a questionable one. It's in the middle. Admittedly, a lot of it is just saying, my friends, no homo, and then saying about full control. But he's sort of like a soundboard. He's sort of like when you're a little kid and someone buys you that doll that you press buttons and it says different things. Go, G.I. Joe, into action. Like, that's like Pasha Biceps. He's got about 3 of those settings. And then there's a 4th one, a secret one that you open up in his back that starts crying when Mortar 2K gives him a lot of money. Because of what it means for his family. But you can only press that in case of emergencies. No, I actually do like Pasha. I think that was legit. So, okay, 3 of the 5. 3 of the 5 are legit. I have no idea why Olofmeister is in there as a personality. That's a weird one to me. I mean, I can even think of players I'd put in there over him. Let's think who I'd put in personality. It's got to be a good one, right?
Yeah.
Makalele, there's a brilliant one right there. Way better personality.
Here's the thing. Why does it need to be players, man? There's all these categories for players. Where are the streamers at? Steel's a fucking personality.
Yeah, he's probably a personality who shouldn't be seen. He's like a person who should be seen and not heard.
He's a personality.
He's got a toxic personality, though.
Don't ever use that word. You're better than that.
He's toxic, Richard. He should be banned forever. He is toxic.
Where's the Duncan I know?
Then again, Rich, here's all you need to know, Rich. I just looked at the bottom. I no longer are in any confusion. So I looked at the bottom. The committee who voted for this, scroll to the bottom, is a bunch of... It's someone from Switzerland, a bunch of UK shitters that you never heard of, one guy from America, and a bunch of Germans. I've never heard of any of those people. So I can only assume jealousy as to why they didn't.
Where's Mo? Mo?
Yeah, he's better than some of those ones.
Do you see what I'm saying? And the thing is, because they're not active players, They can't get into any other category, but they've all made a contribution to CSGO. You should definitely be on the fucking personality of the year list. Fucking hell. What a personality. Do you know what I mean? There should just be a fucking award for edgiest cunt. And it's just your name. Like, that should be a thing. It's not, though. So anyway, you're not nominated for personality of the year. Only mentioned because Henry did an impression of you once, which was my idea. Right. Then let's talk about casting duos. So Moses, I know you're known maybe.
No. Don't bring me into this.
Why not?
I don't want to.
Bring him
why
into
would
this.
Why would I be salty? Why would I be salty?
Bring him in.
Listen, I don't give a fuck if there's a best caster duo list on a website. They can vote for whoever they want.
Wow, Moses doesn't even care about this list.
My coworkers tell me I do a good job.
This exists.
People on Twitter tell me I do a good job.
He's even saying even if he won it, matter. I've
had pro players say they like my casting. Those are the people that I like when they judge. I don't care about the site.
You can't complain about the awards or any form of recognition. Otherwise, you look like an asshole. I get it. I wasn't going to do this, but I thought, fuck it, in for a penny, in for a fucking pound. My 2015 crapped the fuck out, so I'm just going to go ham from now on.
Listen, I'm not going to ask you to comment on them like I just did. All I'm going to say, Moses, is think of like some of the duos you've been in. Pansy and D-Man's nominated. You're not on there, mate. As a combo, Pansy and D-Man are nominated. People who like Pansy and D-Man don't like Pansy and D-Man together and go, please, God, separate this up. You are killing whichever one my favorite one is and whichever one I acknowledge as shit. Insert your own one depending on your particular preference. You will be right 50% of the time. And I hope eventually you can come one closer to the right answer.
I will...
Come on, Patsy, at any point were they considered a fucking top duo? They were never considered a duo. I've said it a bunch of times. I think D-Man fucking really underestimated how difficult it was going to be to not only cast CSGO from a technical level, but also how well he'd go over with the scene when they could see him rizzle, lizzle, dizzle like fucking Snoop Dogg, just phoning in every fucking cast he did and inserting himself into monumentous occasions and monumentous games where people didn't want him to cast it in the first place. They wanted him to show a bit of fucking down-to-earth nature and work his way up. And then he turns around and he goes, yeah, I regret doing this. We all regret it, motherfucker. We all regret it at this point.
I'm going to trigger you. They have a line here where they say, never enough of British accents, eh, mate? Remember, we're not nominated in any category.
Yeah, never enough, unless it's those cunts, right? But then Pansy, I've said, gets shit on forever. But that was a partnership that was never going to work. Fuck, they were dating at the time. They were fucking living together. Like, what the fuck? They're working together. That's like just a recipe for disaster at the best of fucking times. And then
I watched the reality TV show. I'm not lying, Rich. I'd have watched that like a motherfucker.
Oh, yeah, fuck yeah, I would have done. That's like the craziest shit I've ever seen. That is a crazy award. That is a fucking just crazy right there. And then Tosspot and Fifth Lauren, a.k.a. we make mad money at Twitch, so we'll just turn up and do a few games because we can. They've only done a few events. Yeah, I love Tosspot and Fifth Lauren. They're fucking great. I think Fifth Lauren's better on a desk. That's my personal opinion. Robin knows I feel that way. Tosspot's one of the legendary casters of all time. You know, but he's got other things to do. He's integral to Twitch's success and where they are at the moment. Putting him there, I don't know. And Moses, no love for Moses. No love for Moses.
It's fine.
It's not fine.
I don't care. When's the last time I went to Go-To Gamers? Like, honestly, like, here's the thing. And this is where I will not be salty, but I'll actually have, like, a real fucking answer about this, is that more of these events are turning into we are going to bring the duos. You know, you look at DreamHack.
Yeah.
You know, they brought, Anders Semler, they had DDK and James, and then they had Sadicus and Henry G. So these events are hiring the duos, and it's one of those things where I have gone to, ESCA, and I have said I want someone who I can consistently cast with, every single night. I want to be part of a duo. I have actively searched into options of being part of a duo. And I think that is going to be more important next year than it was this past year, and I think that is going to be crucial moving forward. So, I mean, Are you
taking open applications right now to be your duo partner?
Yeah. Send me, a YouTube clip of your last open match you've casted. I would love to cast a game with you.
Only problem is you have a filter on there where any email that comes in from an email address at .ca just automatically gets put into the spam filter. That was a slow burner there, Moses. Keep going.
So
I've started here's the worst part, Nugget, is when you start when I hear you talk, you have like a style that I know it's going to be a fucking burn, and my brain just starts preparing myself for it. Yeah, and like when it takes too long, I just like kind of zone out because I'm like, I don't even want to get hit by this. I do not want to get shot in the face by a fucking Duncan burn.
Okay.
Right, so then you think, well, I've already made the joke at the start of now. I'm like, haha, I got a nomination. So there's a category. I've never seen it before in any awards ceremony, actually. Never seen host of the year. Brilliant. Well happy. Well happy. I mean, I've hosted I must have hosted, I don't know, 15 events this year. Round about that, maybe more. You know, I've done at least one a month anyway. I'm going to get a reference. I'm going to get a shout out. Good old Gossip Gamers. I always like Gossip Gamers. Did I ever tell you that? Love them.
I always thought they were a shower of cunts, but
yeah, no, not me, because I'm definitely going to be in this Host of the Year award. And then it's like, well, Machine's in there, Red Eye's in there. I think he did one event this year. He's great, he is a legend, but one event and he's in. Mantruce is in there, 3 events. OJ Borg, yeah, he's a good stage host, no doubt about it. Sean Charles is in there. I don't even know how many events he's done.
Who's ever said that he was great?
I like Sean. I think he's good.
No, I really want people to put their hands up, and then I'm going to have like a special train that they're all going to board, and I'm going to take them to a holiday camp.
So I didn't. That's not my nomination, and I'm like, okay, well, look, I've always said publicly, I don't know why anyone would hire me to be a host, I think there are better ones out there. They're not on that list, but that's my opinion, and that's fine. I thought I did a good job in.
No, here's the thing, Rich.
Though. I was proud of that.
4 of the names on that list, if they meant host as in stage host, fair enough. 4 of those names can all apply. Why is Machine on there then? He is a desk host. So they're literally basically saying we're including desk hosts, so you definitely do not apply, Rich.
Yeah, but that's the thing, isn't it? It even says
Where's Sir Scoots as well, by the way?
Yeah, and that was
Sean Charles is a better host than Sir Scoots. Fuck you.
So Scoots has done all.
And over to the man who can, if his name is Stan, and he's got a plan, and he ran, and also spam. That doesn't even work, that last bit, short. Over to you.
So brilliant. Scoots has done all the G-Finities with us. Basically,
Sean Charles is a shit Dr. Seuss. There we go. That's going to be on his coffin.
Scoots doesn't even get a mention. That's, again, crazy talk, man. He's probably done the second highest number of events in terms of hosting after me. So, all right, okay. But I'm in this. I'm definitely in this. I'm getting nominated for something. What can it be? What can it be? So, Drama of the Year award. Richard Lewis and Jonathan Loderberg confrontation at DreamHack Winter. Right? I'm nominated for nothing good, just for the drama. And they even spin this crazy version of it where, apparently I did insult Loder's girlfriend when in no way, shape or form did that happen. So good write-up, lads. Nice and accurate. So I'm up there with Game in Paradise ripping off players, fucking all at NA being on Adderall, and a fucking iBuyPower match throwing, which, by the way, was only discovered because I dedicated... Yeah, exactly. but fucking... That was when I did a 6-month investigation into that. Does it mention Richard Lewis? No, I'm not even mentioned in that. So then you're like, okay, well, I've got to be mentioned in it more than once. Nah, I'm not, right? So then, CSGO Story of the Year. Team Union, I broke that one. MTG buying ESL DreamHack and ESL acquiring ESA, I broke that one. Turner in the WME IMG League, I broke that one. So 3 of the 5 stories. My name's nowhere on that. What the fuck is this shit? Just to point out, by the way.
I wonder how many of those Gossip Gamers broke.
Yeah, right? Just to point out, by the way, Gossip Gamers, primarily a Dota site, historically. Nothing to do with the fact that my confrontation was with a Dota player. Nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with him playing in Alliance. Definitely nothing to do with that.
Mate, they have every category under the fucking sun, including categories that allow Mantruce to be nominated twice, fucking Sean Charles to be nominated. So there's all these categories. Where's the category for Analyst of the Year?
Yeah, no.
By the way, I'm not just saying it for me. Where is Analyst of the Year for Natu, Moses? Who else? Who have we got? Who did an analysis? Yanko, Fiflaren, that would actually be one of the most stacked categories. Where some of these they're fucking struggling for names.
Mm. So,
just out of curiosity, Richard, which one would you vote for biggest drama?
Biggest drama? I mean,
that
fuck. In the
like, you can't vote for yourself. You can't vote for yourself, though.
Well, no, but like, it's got to be the iBuyPower match throwing scandal, right? That changed the fucking shape of CS:GO. Like, it sounds like I'm a mad narcissist. I mean, I am going on about I haven't been nominated for an award, so that is inevitable, isn't it? Like that there is obviously I do sound like some delusional narcissistic twat, but that's definitely not the case. Like, definitely not the case. I haven't gone through this with a fine-tooth comb. And I'm not going to make some salty video about it or anything. But anyway, it's got to be iBuyPower, man. That's like if a professional team being involved in a coordinated match fixing ring is voted higher than a fucking two guys coming together and one guy pushing the other one in one of the most overblown, over-exaggerated, worst described events that's ever happened backstage. So much so, everybody who was around at the time was sort of just laughing nervously about it. Everyone was like, what the fuck was that about? The police came out and they were like, yeah, we're just doing our job. This is childish nonsense. We're definitely not going to press charges. Bye, peace out. They were there for like 5 minutes. It's the biggest, to call it a drama, the drama has been manufactured by everyone wanting to feed on drama. Like, I've seen worse fights at a LAN that never got talked about. So, like I say, it happens. So if that wins over a fucking match fixing ring, my mind's blown. Like, fucking, I'm out. Check me out with that.
That will win, by the way.
Oh, of course, yeah. Yeah, of course it will, yeah.
I mean, I'm voting for it right now myself.
The
iBuyPower one will probably win, to be fair.
Nah, you're wrong, man. You're wrong. Think about the audience that Gossip Gamer writes for as well. So you're going to have like a fucking... You are going to have, like, all these Dota players, like, I always thought Loda was a bitch till I discovered Richard Lewis. Fuck that guy. I mean, that's literally, like, that's pretty much the tweet. And then, obviously, you've got all these fucking full-blown fucking cretins like Eternal Envy. Like, you know.
Just to realise, though, Rich, think of even though people want to believe gaming's mainstream, who do you think most people who are nerd gamers are going to identify with? The guy choking or the guy getting choked for being a cocky fuck talking shit. Yeah. I wonder who they will relate to in this scenario and feel the need to unload their psychic violence on.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it blew my mind. The whole awards just blew my mind. And the thing is, as well, it's stickied in the fucking global offensive subreddit, giving it this artificial relevancy. I never thought
on the show. Here's the thing, Rich. On the show, I think we should make our own category that we're going to do okay. So we're going to decide, Moses. I want you to come up with CS Website of the Year. We're going to have HLTV.org in there immediately. We've got to have Team Liquid. They've got that Liquid one that they're doing for all the CS ones. They've done some good articles, some good features. Got 99 Damage. They've done some, I think. What's that? 27 and 1. I think that's it. I think that's about it, right? That's about all.
I thought you were just going through fucking Jay-Z's fucking track list there. It was a bit weird.
I think that's it, though. I think there's no other ones that I would put in that category, you know.
Yeah, definitely not, mate. So, I mean, no, but actually, do you know what we should do? That's giving me an idea for what we're going to do for the Christmas show.
Got him.
For the Christmas show, let's do...
I didn't have the sort of oomph that it probably should have had there, Moses. I built up to something that definitely went anywhere, did I?
Let's do our end of year awards for next week. I'll make up some categories.
Okay.
And then and you know, you do one. What I'll do is I'll make up the categories, you pick one, I pick one, and we just go through and we do it. And we'll make them a bit edgy.
Yeah, let's have funny ones. Yeah.
Best reference game.
Out of you two.
Best Land Choker of the Year award. All sorts of shit. Most overrated player of the year.
Yeah. Thor, I am hoping eventually that in 2016 that's going to go away, you know.
Do you remember the old Godfrag Awards?
Yeah.
The old Godfrag Awards that they used to have? Those used to be some pretty. They had like one year that was like the most like homeless looking player award. Like, and you know who won it? Ironically, Shaguar.
Nice.
He did look bad at a lot of events.
He came in with like tennis shoes that were like oversized with no laces in them and everything. Like just like a t-shirt that was too large for him, dirty jeans, and now he's like a freaking multi-million poker player, probably just dappered out. It's great.
So I'm going to, I mean, every year I do what's called the Gonzo Awards. They're the like alternative awards for like everything that's bad about esports. And I've been doing these for years, about 5 years now. And it's like, you know, the worst fanboys, you know, obviously French win that very often, you know, that kind of thing. And so I'm going to be doing my end of year alternate awards similar in that vein anyway. But I think Alpha Draft should have some awards. You can help us pick them, Jason. If not, when we're off air and you can be edgy again.
Yeah, right? I like that idea. I like that idea a lot.
Good. I'm glad. So that's it, really. That's all the news. And I did say I wanted to end on some salt. But yeah, fuck Gossip Games. Oh, actually, hang on. I haven't had a look at the plebs down at the bottom that Duncan was talking about. Let me just see who they are. Yeah, never heard any of those. Brilliant. I mean, my value to Counter-Strike is being judged by people who probably has never even installed the fucking game. Love this. Anyway, I'm gonna drink about that. I got a bottle of tequila right here. So anyway, that's it for me. Do you guys have anything that you want to throw out there, Duncan? You got any great content coming up?
One thing I haven't done in a while that I've been meaning to do. I'll probably update my rankings tomorrow, because there's been a few events now, so I need to get that done and decide where people shake out, because obviously it's good to... I mean, it's the last big event of the year, so I should really do an end-of-year thing. I actually also have a plan to do like a serious end-of-year type awards that I did last year as well, where I give like Player of the Year, that sort of thing, where I try to put a bit of depth into it. And really, the key thing about that, the reason why I like to do it is because I think it's often poorly done. Like in every single esport game, people just go ahead and nominate people on the last 6 months of the year of play. They don't think about the whole year as a total, and they don't. As a result, you always get a great match, a great player, a great team from the first half of the year who get overlooked. So I'm going to do it properly, figure out what the best matches were, what the best players were. So that'll probably be one main thing I think I do.
Moses, what about you, man? What's going on with you? Tell us, give us something to look forward to. I'm pretty sure at least one or two of the guys watching the stream are Moses fans that have tuned in. So give them some hope for 2016. Are they going to see more Moses? If so, where?
Yeah, going to see more Moses for sure. Don't know the details yet. I haven't really gotten into 2016. I'm just happy that the year is over. I get to relax. Yeah. I'm really happy that this year's gone the way it has. Thank you guys for bringing me on and all that good stuff. But yeah, I don't know yet. Well, there'll be some cool stuff coming up soon. I know that for sure. I'm just starting to get January in order, so I'm sure it'll all get announced soon. And then other than that, just have a happy holidays.
Well, look, I won't see you again. Not again.
We're gonna have him killed.
Yeah. Me and Henry are working on some sort of suicide pact for Christmas. So, but no, he's gonna, like I say, he's gonna be coming up and staying with me. But I probably won't see you because I haven't got any events to do. So I just want to say, in 2015, I have enjoyed your meteoric rise, Jason, where you have come from the land of NA obscurity to being a respected figure, and working events for you has always been great. You always liven up the backstage area. You're always a joy.
Where I can be edgy.
Yeah, exactly, where you can be edgy. And I'm sure you're going to have more success in 2016, and you thoroughly deserve it. So much love from me to you. Have a happy holidays. Duncan, obviously, we've got a show to do next week, so I'm not going to wish you anything. Except the best that I usually do. And that would do our final shout-out. So a little bit different today. In addition to the prayer to Alpha Draft that we issue at the end of every episode, there's also a site that we'd like you to check out called csgopher.com. Now, basically what this is a site that kind of gives you like in-depth statistical breakdowns from games that are going on live. It's got a sophisticated sort of back end. You can put in different parameters and stuff, and it's being updated at the moment, but basically you can go there and check it out for yourself. It can break down team win rates, CT stats, player stats, upset rates on particular maps and anything like this. So it could be used as a tool for basically picking fantasy draft teams in Alpha Draft, which is where there's this synergistic relationship. And I would say you could use it for placing bets in general, but remember, as has been proven by the North American Court of Appeals, fantasy drafting is a game of skill, not luck, not chance, and therefore isn't gambling. And with that in mind, if you're skilled, you can go to alphadraft.com, create your own account, and you can start picking teams. They have competitions every week that coincide with real-life competitions. You pick players, gain points based on your picks, and if you win, you can win money. Some are free to enter, but there's ones with massive prizes that you can pay to enter if you think you're up to it. So start at the bottom and work your way up, much like Moses has this year. So there we go, Duncan. Was that a good Alpha Draft plug? You like that one?
Yeah, it was decent.
Thanks. I'm never going to be as good as you, but as the host, I have to close out the show. Unless we are going to start introducing where you do it at the end.
No, I think it's fine as it is.
Yeah, I thought so. The least work, the better. You just count the money, motherfucker. Yeah, I can see you grinning. You little finger bitch. Anyway, there we are. So it's been a wonderful show. Thanks to Moses for coming on. Thanks for Duncan for being a great co-host. Thanks to all of you for watching out in the chat. If you're watching us on the VOD, thanks to you as well. And of course, thanks to Alpha Draft for making it possible. Yes, you too, Sam. Yep, stop nudging me. And we will see you at the regular time next week. Until then, take care, and may all your drafts be Alpha. Peace out.